Yo.
That's
Hello, everyone.
That's telepathy, man. I was just about to text you and be like, "Hey, we have 14 live viewers. Look, you ready?"
Yeah, getting everything dialed in over here. Me, as usual, like kind of fashionably late and leaving everything until the last moment. I've been doing so much stuff, actually. We have so much cool stuff to talk about that's coming to the community. I'm so excited. How have you been, Dave?
Zach worked some miracles today and created one of the coolest things you could ever donate to in your life, and I'm a Patreon subscriber of it. And Zach, you just need to talk about it.
Well, first, we're going to say welcome to all of our fabulous viewers, because you guys are all wonderful. I appreciate so much that you guys are here at the time that we start and you hang out every night. That is so cool. And I'm really excited to say that we got a bunch of new stuff coming to the community. It's just going to be like, it's just free for you guys. I did a Facebook post about it earlier. Let me bring it up so I can just read the things for myself, at least. Nevertheless, number one of the people in the community, April, that is generally in chat, she's here tonight. She's going to be doing weekly yoga classes soon. We don't actually have a time or a date set yet. She's going to be setting that because it's her thing and she's leading it. And we're going to be doing that via Zoom, and you guys are welcome to take part with that. And we're going to also be streaming it on YouTube in case you can't call into Zoom or whatever the case may be. So we're going to have that here on the channel. We're also going to be having 2 new weekly segments, it looks like. Angela is going to be doing a segment every week at her own time slot. And then another individual who I actually don't know a lot about, Angela and Aaron, have been setting this up. So real quick, I'd like to Eddie out. And could you tell us about the other person who's going to be having a segment? Because I'd like to know.
You said Eddie out. So Louis, and there's so much to Louis's history in the music industry and tons of different avenues. I couldn't even begin. There's just a lot of stuff there he's done a long time. He's got thousands of songs that he's oracled or he's channeled, but not channeled, but they're just his own unique expressions. And he has done channeled readings. He did one for Chief Seattle for this area up here when I just happened to be at the same time that Angela and I were up here, and it was beautifully profound and intuitively really right on to everything I've resonated with since I've been here. So he's I'm not sure what his official native background is, but he's native. He's very much has a lot of traditional garb and pieces just worked into his life and his artwork and his expression. He's an incredible storyteller, and he expresses in incredibly beautiful ways. So it'll be a very, very unique show, and it'll be a beautiful place that I know he'll love also to engage with people in live dialogue or even live creative expression, spoken word, just different things in beautiful ways. He's just an incredibly wonderful person.
That just gave me an idea for live art classes also. So that's another thing that we're going to do at some point in time. I have no idea when because I just thought of it. So now I got to find somebody to do it. Yeah, we're going to do live art classes. That sounds fun. Say something in the chat if you think live art classes sound fun. Because like if at least 2 people say it, I'm going to do it anyways. Because we have like much less people than we're going to have in the long run here. So if 2 of you say it, we're definitely good to go. So basically you're saying that like he's an artist and a tribal member and
a composer and a
storyteller.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
So this guy, you know, he's all kinds of stuff, basically oriented around the arts and telling a story through creative formats. He's going to have a weekly show where you can ask his questions, or he'll be making creations, or he'll be telling stories and all kinds of cool stuff with that. So we're super excited to have him here. I'm going to be tuning in because I've never heard any of his stories, so I'm very interested to hear them myself.
Yeah. And also that too on a practical dynamic. I mean, how this works, guys, as we're building this community, it's like this is to us. It's happening very organically. It's creating a tribal mentality. We're helping each other out. So it gives Angela a platform. This is something she's wanted to do for a while. We've talked about something this dynamic. And it just works out that we're open to and looking to run on this channel, the YouTube channel, the Expand Understanding, 24/7 content potentially, but at times of the days for different people to come on. So Angela,
potential, it's happening.
It's happening. All right. So Angela, for example, like in a background image like we have back there with the nebula and the things that created on Angela's show, she'd have her own unique background image. She'd have her own show title, and she's got her business up there because she's basically on her show in a lot of ways going to be do a 2-hour reading with someone. So whoever comes on, a caller, just walk them through their life story or just different things that come up and dive into different ways to heal different things live with people over like a long time. If one caller is 2 hours, then it's 2 hours, and you get to hear the life story of someone, and Angela walks shamanically and beautifully just through their life and gets to know them. And so there's that live engagement with people in that group. And so that she's that for her, allows her to do something she loves to do. Plus it helps her to show the business and some of the skill sets that she has to help people outside of just the show she's doing on the channel. And the same thing with Louis and him being able to express himself into a community of people he wishes to connect with and put these things into the earth and into the world. We're creating a platform. Then Angela and Louis get a copy of all the content. They get all this put on their own channels to do what they want with. This isn't like our videos that now we have the rights to. Dude, that's not what we're doing here. So it's just a really beautiful way to equally co-create together into whatever this thing is we're creating.
And real quick, because April, hi April.
Hi April.
April says here that she seriously wants to hug everyone.
Oh,
so I want to take a moment for us to basically cheat space time. And everybody just give yourself a hug all at the same time and just pretend that everybody here is giving you a hug. And now we're all hugging each other. If you ever seriously have an issue where you're feeling down, you feel like you need a hug, you can definitely hug yourself to generate oxytocin. And just remember back to this moment where all kinds of people were hugging you. It's interesting I'm saying this because the post that I put this on had a bunch of people standing around somebody and it said basically like, remember, you're actually never alone. So
yeah, I remember saw that.
Just give yourself a big hug, and it's from everybody in this wonderful community. I call it the ISN community. I really don't care what the name is. I just have all kinds of imagery and stuff for that name, so I use it. And the Expanded Understanding podcast. So we're going to be adding so much more stuff to this channel. If you guys have ideas, we'd love to hear them. If it's an idea that multiple people like it, I will just crowdsource. Like if you send me an idea, I'm going to end up asking other people if they like it. If they like it, I'm going to probably end up making it as content. We're going to try it out. We're going to figure out how often it needs to be. So on top of that, what we all do every day, or should be, at least it's helpful to, is meditate. And in the future, when Zach finally gets around to making the things, so that might be a little while, but nevertheless, when I get to making it, which it will actually be soon, we're going to be starting the show, and instead of music before it, we're going to be starting the stream at 7:30, and we'll basically have a guided meditation in there that's just focused towards, enhancing your life in some way, whether it be like loving yourself more, feeling more love in your life, enhancing your connection with your inner child. If you hugged yourself, say yes in the chat to Jasmine's question, or something like that. I hope everybody hugged themselves, because I seriously was sending you a hug. We're going to have nightly meditations, though, in here.
And we also sometimes got to do the music, because that is a meditation. Every track and setup you've done each night so far, I'm super into it, man. It is great. It takes
when we start having more content on the channel, all dead space that is not filled with programming of someone here talking, sharing value that came from their own life, that they're creating live, basically, this channel will be running copyright-free music, and music where we're basically showcasing producers in the community, composers in the community, and other ways of people basically expressing their art. So this will fill in all of that dead space. We'll have plenty of exceptional music to hear here, and a lot of it will be created by people that are in the community. This is all long scale. Up until then, like the stream that's running in the background, these streams already run 24/7, and they're all copyright-free music. So I can have these up whenever.
Angela's in the chat. Angela, you should find something, or give me a few samples of Louis' music or something that we can throw on one of these intros at some point, and just crossbreed the show and introduce him or whatever. He's got a lot of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, the whole idea here really is beyond a community is actually an ecosystem. I was talking with April earlier today, and I was saying that we're trying to build a 5-dimensional Earth here, right? We don't really need money, and we don't really need, say, resources, what you buy with money, and we don't really need time and energy. What we need is a space to be able to do this. We have all of those things. We have all of the time. We have all the energy. We have all the resources. We have all of these things that we need in order to bring about the changes that we want in the world. inside of the people who want to bring about those changes. We are generating a space, an ecosystem within which the conscious individual can thrive, both with their business, in their personal life, in their relationships that they make with other people, so they don't feel lonely and don't feel like they don't have anybody to do their stuff with, so they have people to bounce their ideas off of, and through that feedback everybody can learn about themselves. If you've never heard of the school of the Pythagoreans, functionally this is a large ecosystem of the Pythagoreans. That's the whole point of this, and we will all help each other out and intermingle and interconnect throughout this system like we already are metaphysically, and we will be able to help each other and channel our energy to the places that need energy channeled to it, to make sure that we're executing and deploying on the things that need to be executed and deployed on at that point in time. So we will get to more about how we can help out with those things, but as I said, nightly group meditation's coming up. They will be before the show. We'll do a 30-minute meditation probably, something like that, and then we'll roll into the show after that with music kind of segueing between there, so that I don't have to be on time, because I like schedules, but like organic schedules, you know what I mean? So nevertheless,
yes,
we'll be rolling in with that. We'll constantly be having a lot of, charity events of basically ways that we can help out, helping people that need the help. If you are one of the people that need the help, we can help you out too. If you are one of the people that can help, we can help you channel that to the places where it will actually get to the people. 100% transparency about where every single dollar goes. Every single dollar, if we say that it's going 100% to somewhere, every single dollar is going to that place. So some of the charity events that we're starting off with immediately, I have an idea that I'm working on with somebody else where we're going to start. I have never said anything about this one before, so we're going to leave with that. I had some recording of some footage of a person in the community, her children, just like talking on camera, and this basically gave me an idea to also kind of run an educational nonprofit where the people in the community work together to basically create like homeschooling and other type of conscious curriculum that can be fun and engaging for both the parents and the children, that we can provide to people, and building a platform basically around that we can engage with and really share our ideas to ensure that we are actually getting the education out there that we feel that our children need, regardless of whether they're teaching that in the school system or not. It does not matter. We have the internet, we have our own stuff, we have tons of teachers here. We will just make this, and then we will give it away for free, and we just need to donate our time to this. There will be tons of ways to help out basically with this project. Education is extremely important. The whole point of us actually being here in many ways is to learn things about ourselves, about others, about experience, and making sure that we have a good basis for being able to learn and knowing some of these things that we are better off sculpting over our life. Meditative practices, understanding of yogas, and other kinds of various things like that. These are very much so things that we can start incorporating in our kids' life. And we already have a lot of people in the community who that's their whole thing, like conscious homeschooling. They really care about that. And we're going to basically create something for them that will allow us to, channel the funds that we need towards this kind of thing and ensure that we're really pushing an agenda on the education end. We also need to be able to take care of our food source. It's very important if we're going to have a sustainable ecosystem that we have food inside of it. April in the chat has a nonprofit coming along that's called Pacific Soul that will functionally work like a large-scale kind of pantry, if you understand how those work, where basically food donations are there, but we have a different kind of format of how we're going to do this, and then they get that food to the families that need it when those families let them know that they need it. We have many, many things in place for this, and this will be developing over time. Actually, right now, we're only waiting on, before we start moving to the next thing, the incorporation of April's charity 503c or whatever the tax code is for that. That's not my area. Nevertheless, waiting for her to incorporate that, and then that's something that we're going to be moving forward with on a much larger scale. On a smaller scale right now, we talk about plant medicines in here. We talk about psychedelics oftentimes. We're talking about consciousness. We're talking about healing, formats of energy healing, these things. The Amazon jungle is the heart of this basically on the planet. If you've never been there, literally magic thrives through this jungle. This place is not being entirely sustained on its own. There are 7 indigenous tribes left in the Amazon jungle, and we are just so fortunate enough to have direct connections to not only one of these tribes, but one of the premier tribes in the Amazon jungle the Shipibo people. These people have been around for 4,000 plus years, according to their oral history. They don't really know because in certain ways they don't keep track of time. These are beautiful people. These people's motto is the universe is a song and everything can be sung. I have personally met these people directly. Other people in the community have personally met these people directly. But we're afforded with an opportunity to be able to help these people out to live a more comfortable life in the area that they are. And realistically, the long-term goal is to create basically a beacon of thriving for the Shipibo community in that space, so that the fragments of the Shipibo community can start to come back and coalesce around it. And we can ensure that this place is actually a tribe that can hold its own land, take care of itself, long-term format, make sure that they're on land that they actually own by all modern day laws and all this stuff, so that they cannot be displaced, and these people can continue to be literally, I mean, these people are the children of the spirit of the jungle, and they tend to that spirit all the time. Majority of the pharmaceuticals you've ever had that did any good in your life were extracted from the Amazon jungle based off of the information of a vegetalismo, just like the people that we work directly with, so that people could understand how to heal themselves. We know how to heal through these plants, and we're going to have a deep integration working with these people, providing all kinds of things. At this point in time, I have personally already brought up a couple of initiatives if you feel like helping out for this. First and foremost, right away we need to get these people some help. We'll see on the screen here a beautiful picture of the Amazon jungle. Look how beautiful this is with the sun over the top of it. This is what we need to sustain. Very much so, this thing is taking care of our earth. Let's see if this opens it bigger. It doesn't. Nevertheless, if you want a bigger image of this, I have it. I will send it to you. Nevertheless, the Amazon is a very beautiful place. It very much so needs our help. There's all kinds of people that would love to encroach on the wonderful resources that are available there. But one of the wonderful resources that is available there can't be available if people encroach on it. And that's the natural habitat of what the Amazon jungle is, the most diverse ecosystem in the world. The amount of animals and plants that are in this place is absolutely ridiculous. If we scroll down the page here, we'll see Dio de Mero Minas and his assistant, Rocinda Flores. I don't know if I'd call it assistant. She's a maestra herself that is extremely powerful and extremely skilled. She works with him, and she's technically his student. But Dio is, you wouldn't maybe believe it from his picture, but he's in his 60s now, and he's been doing this all of his life. These people are very wonderful people, and Dio himself is basically patriarch to the San Francisco community, and there's circa 100 Shipibo families that live in there that depend on him and the work of Rocinda and other people inside of the village to actually provide food for the majority of the village. The rest of the people in the village live in the predominantly indigenous ways as much as they can, gathering food, gathering from the jungle, living their standard format of life. And Dio and other workers like Rocinda really rely on people, foreigners at this point in time, coming down to the jungle, going to the retreat centers around there where they facilitate plant medicine ceremonies, and as a byproduct of that income, they're able to feed these tribes. Given the state of the world right now with the massive confusion, diseases, etc., all these things going on, as you can imagine, not a whole lot of people, a significantly lower amount, are traveling down to Peru, and right now we need to be able to basically help them out, provide them with, if it's really not very much money by American standards, to ensure that they're able to eat and stay comfortable while we ride out the rest of this, and then inevitably their business picks back up through all the things. At this point in time, it really only costs them about $450 American to feed the entire village for a month. That's 100 families, $4.50. So if you think like, too small, can't help, it's $5 feeds an entire family for a whole month. And these are wonderful kids, wonderful kids and women and people who really take care of the land, really care about the earth, really are doing things to live a happy life, and are really living in a way that is very communal and very loving. Like the amount of love that you feel around these people is incredible. I've met tons of these people, and regardless of their age, they always approach you beaming with a smile and just love radiating out from around them. It's not that they're not going to live. These are strong people. It's that for what is really like what we can source with the community, with everybody functionally kicking in $1, or if you can't kick in any money, sharing these kinds of fundraisers and stuff for people who do want to take their opportunity to give back to something in the world. For a very small amount of money, we can help these people out. With the GoFundMe, we're looking to raise $1,500 to make sure that I can get this down to him directly so that he can take care of getting the food that they need for the next couple of months and probably any other things that they need right now. Dio's our guy on the ground. He knows exactly how the place works. He's set up all the logistics. He is the guy who does this in the community. So we let him handle it the way that he wants to. He, I know because I personally met him. He's a legit guy, very legit, super legit. Like if he wasn't a legit guy, I'd be having some problems because this guy's done a lot of work on me, you know. So nevertheless, we want to be able to help these people out, and this is the way that is available for people to help it out. I'm going to go ahead and drop this link in the chat right now. If you cannot donate to this, that is fine. Don't put yourself in trouble to help somebody else out. Serve from an overflowing vessel. You have time if you don't have money. So share this on social media platforms. Find groups that might be interested. Tell friends. Ask them to dig change out of the couch or whatever. It literally doesn't matter. But give your time if you can't give your funds. But don't put yourself in a position where you're hurting yourself. Hurting one part of the ecosystem to help another part does not help the ecosystem. If you can give, give. If you can't give, don't. Okay? But please, if you can give your time, please share these kinds of things around. The link is in the chat so you can do that. We want to be able to provide consistent help for these people going on into the future. On top of that, this community is going to be put in like over the last, since we started doing this podcast, I do stuff with this podcast. We're working on community building or networking for it, literally like 16 hours a day. Okay, I'm totally happy with putting this in. This is my passion. I'm doing this regardless. But we're going to be generating a large amount of content. We're going to be getting together a large amount of people. We're going to be putting these assets out there so that you can get them for free. So that you can get them for free. If you would like to help us do that, if you would like to help us take care of our charitable aims, we have put up a Patreon that, again, if you do not have the money to do it, do not do it. The universe will provide the money from the right places. Know this. Trust this. If you are not the right place, know this. Trust this. Give your time, please. Please, your time. That's it. If you can't give money, give your time. Okay? We've brought up a Patreon that has many different layers of interaction that you can choose to engage at the level that you wish to engage, or you can just share this around to other people. Realize, realistically, if you come in here and hang out, even if you're not giving us any kind of money or anything, you're a part of the community. We're going to take care of you. You're going to get the benefits of being part of the community. But we really want a way that you guys are able to also give energy to this project. This is just more coal going into the engine. If you believe in the things that I say that I'm going to do, which, like, if you don't, sit back and watch, because it's going to be very fun for you to get proven wrong, okay? But if you believe in the things that I say and you believe in the feeling that you have in the space like this, then, and you want to see that machine move faster into the future, these kinds of resources can help us out, whether it be you sharing these things to other people who do have the stuff to do this, or helping us out with this directly. Either one of these, that will help this machine go forward faster. When this machine gets whirring, the world is going to become a better place, 100,000%. We're going to continue to create more events, more free content, all kinds of things. I'll create stuff around your own ideas. It literally doesn't matter. I am here to act as basically guardian for the ecosystem. I make sure that the ecosystem has the things that it needs so that it can function well. So please contact me if you feel like there's something that the ecosystem needs. I will listen to you. We will generate this. We will work together, and we will make sure that we're getting some way to help this out. There is a prophecy inside of multiple Native American cultures in South America and North America that Jen brings up right now. It is the prophecy of the eagle and the condor. And it tells of a time where the spirit of consciousness, the condor in the south, and the spirit of consciousness, the eagle in the north, they must come together and be intertwined and entangled to bridge the gap of consciousness and the imbalance that exists on the earth. Many tribal elders believe that that time is now. This is the embodiment of that prophecy coming to be. And you are capable of being a part of it if you want to be. You are capable of sitting by and watching it if that is the role that you would wish to play. Both of them are very important roles. Either way, you're here, and I appreciate it. This is a thing that's happening right now, though. It is a deep belief that goes a long time ago through many, many tribal cultures that are very intelligent individuals in their own right. And this prophecy is very much so coming to be.
And
This
he
is
said,
happening not just in this community, but many other communities.
and as Zach said, even the Hopi prophecy of the fifth world of peace, of the fifth age of peace, and there's many others of this age to come, the millennial reign of Christ, the reign of 1,000 or reign of 1,000,000 Buddhas or something like that. They're all there. The difference is they don't have to come through cataclysm and disaster. Parts of the world may fall apart. There may be localized natural disasters. But how much energy do you want to give to those systems when you could be giving time and energy into systems of creating the better world? Because no matter what happens around us, Zach and I aren't going anywhere. Said it before, I'll be around 350 years. Like this, it's maybe shocking to you guys. I've said this for a while. Like really, it's even like there's enough TED Talks out there to legitimize me saying that. Really, or that seems a little long. Well, they only say maybe like 150 to 180 years. Why do you think 350? Like, listen, if it's 150 to 180, like within the next 20 years, they have the tech to do that and to help us, our bodies heal ourselves. Come on, how is it far fetched that it would be 350? Like, 20 years from now, like, yeah, everybody's gonna live that long.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I mean, we have these kinds of technologies coming now. I mean, they do exist in many ways, and it's really more about having them deployed in a way that the people can actually get access to them.
Right.
So the
And a
future
lot
really
of
is now if we choose for it to be. But the future don't happen on its own, really. Like nothing changes if nothing changes. So we got to make a change.
Investing into things like these things feeding and helping people to sustain them through this time right now, and the things that we're trying to create in this channel for the sake of a new platform as the world crumbles and falls apart or whatever, as they turn away from the mainstream narratives of things. There's literally a community of very diverse shows and things they can come to, but all with the stream of bringing unity, real, genuine, sincere, raw unity, not based on some religious creed, except for like, do no harm to any sentient kind, or like be a good person or whatever, man. I mean, come on, really unity, really respecting and honoring all symbol sets, all people's perspectives, all people's experiences.
There don't need to be no religion for heaven on earth. It's just a place where everybody falls in love. And there's no reason to live in fear. That's all it is. We can create this space, my friends. We are the people of the world. Like the governments of this world and the corporations of the world do not rule this world. Don't let them fool you. Are you kidding me? There's like 100,000 people in that group. There are billions of us. There are billions of us. Those people do not rule the world. The people rule the world. We must work together to make sure that what we want is being created. And so that's really what it's all about. And I appreciate you guys being here at the very beginning of that in order to do it. It's been 1 hour and 11 minutes since we stopped broadcasting, and we just basically finished with the intro.
That's how it goes sometimes.
I really appreciate you guys all for being here. Don't give anything if you can't give anything. If you got extra money, do it. These people do need help. It's going to help a lot of people out in the long run. Like these beautiful textiles that you see behind me and many other kinds of things that I could show you. We're going to be getting these things at very good prices from them that is beyond what they're normally getting paid for these things. They can also help them for their goods, and we will be providing these goods as giveaways and stuff throughout the community, or providing you with the opportunity to purchase them at a good rate if you want some of them for your ceremonial space, these kinds of things. We want to get a deep integration with this tribe because very much so they are the conscious community in the South. So I really, really do appreciate all of you guys being here and being a part of the change actually happening in the world. So you guys are the change. I'm just a guy that talks on a live stream and connects people and stuff. You guys are the change.
The change.
You guys are the change. So here we are tonight on the 4th of May, which for some reason in popular culture has been dubbed May the 4th be with you. I think that's an interesting concept, since in certain ways we kind of actually do have access to the Force. Wouldn't you say, Aaron?
Yes, continue.
Well, it's just you continue. How do we have the Force? Tell me, young Padawan, how does the Force flow through you?
Oh, setting me up you were.
Setting you up I am for answering. Yes.
Force, the oneness, the unity, the stillness within, the connection to everything. I don't know, like even psychology, man. Like we were talking about yesterday, that using one of the Jesus parables as an example, but real life examples of like when you know your space or have some sovereignty, or have enough sovereignty over your own, command your own reality around you, when people come to impose their own reality, Jesus stepped out. They came to arrest him, a whole bunch of Roman guards. And he said, "Who is it you're looking for?" And they literally knocked to the ground to one knee, were blown backwards to the point he had to ask them again, "Who are you looking for?" And they're like, "Oh, Jesus of Nazareth." He said, "I am he." They didn't do anything. He said, "Who are you looking for?" And they said, "Jesus of Nazareth." He said, "I am he." And he said, "It is not my time." And then he just like closed the door on them and they just leave. Right? It just wasn't his time. So that kind of forced, in a sense, if you know who you are. Like the thing about 350 years, it's real though, man. Like I think you really can know when you're going to die and when you're not going to die. Yeah, if I happen to die before that, well, then on the other side, I'm like, well, I was wrong, right? If that happens, but that's not the reality that I perceive for myself. Knowing myself, my soul contracts, my soul history, my reasons for being here now, my awareness of myself beyond just this lifetime and different dynamics. So I think that's a right we have as people if we want to know that. But people stop themselves sometimes at like, would you really, if you could know the day you die, would you really want to know? It's like, it's not that simple. What, you're just going to give me the day or the events that happened? I want to like understand the context around it. I want to understand things led up to it. I want to understand more. I want to be able to understand as much as I want around that. And I think we have the right to do that. And part of that's just pondering on the subject. And over time, awareness has come until you just kind of know I will not be taken out. That's just not a role. I realized that a while ago. But and I mean, Zach talked about this too. Like if we were going to be taken out, it would have been a while ago. It would have been a while ago. So when you know, and then you anchor that timeline in, and the other ones that are against you literally bounce off. Return to sender. Sorry. There's the force, Zach. What do you have to say?
Oh, well, I mean, I really think that this is the consciousness. That's what the force is, really, in many, many ways. When you have mastery of your consciousness and you're able to focus your energy, you're able to accomplish things that seem basically superhuman in certain ways. And I don't think we actually have any idea what the limits of are that whatsoever. I really like Dan Winter has this thing, and he's just such a cute guy when like he starts doing his like Yoda impression stuff. If you watched his stuff where he talks about basically the idea of the Jedi.
No, well, the idea of it, but I don't remember particularly his impression of Yoda though.
Oh, every once in a while inside of his talks, he'll then end up,
Uh-huh.
suddenly he makes some kind of voice. That's all that I'm really talking about.
Oh,
But
okay, I've heard him make voices for sure.
so he has some very interesting work into some. I believe it's well, I think it came from several places, but one place was Egypt. A thing called the Jed, spelled Djedd, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep going.
It kind of, in ways, it kind of looks like a rudimentary format of a Tesla coil or something like that. But
Go ahead.
nevertheless, he has a whole lot of interesting correlations about how pretty much his work and the work of which is phase conjugate optics or plasma physics, that it kind of correlates with these ideas. And I mean, if you haven't looked into Dan Winter's stuff at all, and you're ever looking to go down a rabbit hole someday, do you have a playlist of Dan Winter's stuff on here?
I probably do. Okay, look at this. This is the Jed.
Oh, there it is. Let's get him on the screen. This is the Jed. This pillar.
Okay, but it's also the spinal column. Different ways they break it down, which goes along with all the other esoteric overlays. There's a lot of symbol sets that overlay because I think there's a lot of truths around it. But also, what was the other thing you said?
Well, he correlates it to his whole phase conjugate optics and everything like that. But if you got to the spinal cord at all, then you're definitely going to be able to do that because his whole overlay is on the spinal cord and everything like that too. So
yeah, really, really interesting. Honestly, I don't know a ton about the Egyptian stuff, but that was one of them, and I always really liked that image. And this poster was like $3 on eBay, and I was like, done.
The real point is that there's a ton of interesting correlations to that thing that could lead to, maybe would lead one to believe that the choice of the word, like the Jedi for that was not actually just like a completely accidental thing that they did. So, nevertheless.
The Jedi. I love, I don't know if you can bring it up or if it's relevant enough right now, but the code of the J Greta, the J Greta, the Gray Jedi.
Code of the Gray Jedi.
Yeah.
Does it here's an image that has all 3 of the codes.
Sure, let's try it out. I mean, I've seen a few variations, but they're usually pretty cool. Some sayings in it.
Sure, we can
One.
use this as basically just a way to show that, like, no matter what story you come up with, you kind of end up telling the same story. So that's very interesting. And we do have Angela getting ready here. She looks like she's on the show.
Oh
And
yeah, she's
it
gonna
looks
introduce
like
Louis. I
she
think.
is.
Come on.
She is ready right now. So we're going to go ahead and pop her in here. Hi,
Hey,
Angela.
Ann.
Hello, hello. Oops. How are
How are you
you?
doing?
I am. I'm okay. It's not bad. It's nearly 4:45 in the morning for me. So I have literally lost the plot. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. It's nowhere near that time for me, though.
Yeah,
Nope.
That seems to be your schedule right now, though.
I know, right? It's yeah, it's really tricky. I'm just stretched across broad time, but I suppose I should be okay because I'm in Glastonbury, home of
Yeah.
Fraud time.
Yeah, we just make up a different time instead.
Yeah, just make it fit somehow.
Yeah.
So Louis was about to join us, actually. Louis Very Blanc, you were so nicely talking about him earlier, Aaron. That was beautiful. Yeah, I can't wait for him to get on. He seems to be having some login problems.
Okay. What are the problems?
Well, I last saw him click Broadcast Studio, so I assumed he was coming here. But it looks like he didn't quite make it to this step.
Yeah, no, apparently not. So he has to have a YouTube, a Facebook, or a YouTube channel to be able to sign in, which he does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe he needs a little more help. I don't know.
Maybe I might just sort of slink back into the background and just go and give him a bit of a hand.
Okay, yeah, then pop. We can either be backstage or pop back in on the link whenever you come back.
All right. Okay, we'll do.
All right. Bye.
All right. So apparently we are going to have Louis and Angela on the show tonight. So we'll get to meet Louis. That's a thing that's happening now.
That gives us time because I was going to give space to that if he was coming on. Awesome, but now we got to go through the Great Jedi Code because it's great. And I haven't seen it in this format. There might be other ways to break it down, but why not go through that since we got it?
So we'll bring this up closer so hopefully it can be read on the screen. Let's see. This is going to be like super huge, but yeah, here we go. So the Great Jedi Code, and basically what we're looking here, we got the the Sith Code, which is evil in one of these systems. The Grey Code, which is neutral, and the Jedi Code, which is good, basically. But this kind of breaks down the same overlay to almost any three-part system that kind of goes like this, of which there are like 8 trillion inside of the world. So
and electromagnetics and positive, negative, neutral, just a lot of the whole thing.
Yep. So would you like to read the Grey Code here, or me?
Sure, I can go through it. So, the Great Code: there is no dark side nor a light side. There is only the Force. I will do what I must to keep the balance. There is no good without evil, but evil must not be allowed to flourish. There is passion, yet peace. There is serenity, yet emotion. There is chaos, yet order. Is that it?
Yeah, well, that's what's listed on here.
Yeah, that's
Is there
pretty
more
good,
to
man.
the thing that you're talking about?
No, like it's funny because that I didn't think about reading it this time. I just remember it's like, anything I read, I pick apart. There's things I kind of agree with, I don't agree with, or I get the concept. If I change it here, okay, I get that. Now there's some cool things in there. I'm like, yeah, man, that's a cool way to see shit. I kind of like that. I kind of like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I like this idea that there's passion yet peace, because passion is definitely something that can get really super fiery. Like all of the passion cards, basically inside of, for instance, tarot, are all like fiery cards. You know what I mean? And they're very much so like oftentimes can err on the side of getting over aggressive or forceful or reckless. These kinds of things. And that passion yet peace, it's still powered by that Ignis, right? That fire inside of it. But it's also got a stillness to that fire. It's like a really hot flame that's burning like so perfectly it's like not even moving. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Much of the teaching of Jediism about non-duality. And I think that we could say that the gray side really embodies that non-duality by kind of just sitting in the balance, sitting in that neutral. It really has access to both sides of that.
Like I would say, like, and you know, if we're gonna use somewhat of an extreme example, but not really, like when you bind yourselves to black or white, this is something that is wrong always, all the time, like, or this is right, or like when you're rigid on stuff, man, it's like whether it's good or bad, it's like you're stuck on one side of the 1% of the spectrum over here, 1% over here. When the reality is it's those two plus the other 98%. So the gray Jedi, there's light or dark. It's all the Force, man. And there are consequences for actions, obviously, you know, when you harm someone else. But I'm talking about like internal perspectives, internal worlds, and internal, you know, worldview.
Yeah. And I mean, from like gray code being truly neutral, it would be kind of that Newton's law of for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. You know what I mean? Because the action balances itself.
So choose where to plant your seeds. Choose where to put your energy, your intention, your focus, your awareness, your words. Your, you know, like where do you put them? What do you do with them?
Yeah. I think it's I find it very important inside of my own personal practice and what I do with my clients, like neuro-linguistic programming, making sure our words are really sculpted the right way. It's amazing how much of an influence it has just delivering a statement kind of like positive before negative or negative before positive when you have multiple things to say to someone. You know, like if you go with you know, I don't really feel like you're doing as well as you could be doing. However, you are doing very good at these things, and I think we should leverage into that. This sits in a different way than going, I think you're doing these things good. However, overall, you're really not doing very good. You know what I mean? Like that leaves this negative in the air, and it's much better just to leave that positive in the air. And that works both in interaction with other people and with ourselves. And that's really just like a simple example of how just like a simple shift of even just the ordering of the words can have a pretty dramatic effect on how that dynamic goes.
Totally. 100%, bro.
It's interesting. He says it's interesting. This week's sermon was on the code.
The code.
Yeah. He said that he was a seminarian of the back here, as a seminarian of the Temple of the Jedi Order, and so that's the sermon that he's referring to right now.
Gotcha. I was like, all right. I was trying to connect the dots. That makes way more sense. Oh, dude, whoever you are, you want to come in and tell us about, if you actually are that into this shit, please tell us about it. Like, I'd really like to hear more. Want to come on?
Yeah, I think that's Jeff. Jeff, if you want to come on here and talk about what a seminarian for the Jedi Code does, I'd love to have you just drop me a message on Facebook real quick, and we could bring you in. Because I don't know anything about that at all, but I'm sure it's actually I think we would find it as a surprisingly functional way to explore the concepts of reality. That's what's so wonderful about these things.
No shit, I know, dude. Really. And my brother actually got his, if that's what he's talking about, the order that this guy's a part of, where my brother got his thing. So he married my sister 2 years ago, and her husband or whatever, ex-husband, but like, but yeah, as a Jedi, whatever, official from the state, licensed to marry.
Well, that is, I mean, some people are they're able to marry people under, it has absolutely no denomination whatsoever. You know, it's like the universe church, basically, which, I mean,
right. I mean, as far as state approved, like marriage, if you want a state approved marriage, not that you have to at all. That's funny. He said it was like an extra like $30 option when he was signing up for a marriage license to add on the Jedi thing, Night of the Jedi Order or some shit to his license certificate. That's officially how you get it. It literally is paying an additional thing when you get your marriage or your marrying thing, ordination or whatever they call it.
That's funny. There's like a college of like metaphysics or something like that. That you can literally, they believe that everybody's experience is what they learn about metaphysics really through. So your life experience has given you valuable, worthwhile experience inside of that. And so because of that, everybody that basically has it exists should be able to have a PhD of metaphysics. So through them you can buy for like $30 or something a PhD of metaphysics, and they send you a diploma and everything. You can hang it on your wall and all this stuff.
Nice. I'll take one. With as long as I know the backstory, and I can point out somebody, but yeah, I get it. That's cool.
So I believe, yeah, Jeff messaged me just now. So Angela's sitting again backstage, but I would like to bring Jeff on real quick and ask him about what he does with that. And then if we could bring on Angela after, I mean, we can bring her in right then because I don't see Louie in here yet.
Yeah, pull her
Your
in,
thoughts?
and then we'll find out what's going on, Louie, and then also bring Jeff in. So, because it sounds like Louie's not backstage yet. So, I mean,
Yeah.
he's not.
So we'll bring this in. Then we
Yeah.
bring her in. Hey, Angela. Hey.
Hello. Oops.
Hey.
Hello, caught right.
So there was a guy in the chat that is a seminarian for the Temple of the Jedi Order. And before Louis comes on, we're going to have him come on and tell us what that means. Wait, Louis here now. Oh my gosh, everything's overflowing.
Yeah.
We'll do Louis, then we'll do the Jedi Order thing. So,
okay.
Jeff, we're going to have to go back to the Jedi Order after we do the Louis thing because everybody else is here. His stream hasn't loaded in my thing yet, though, so I'm waiting.
Unless Louis wants to jump on the stream too, and we pull Jeff on, just have 5 of us in the chat while he tells us about the Jedi Order.
Can we even have 5 on here?
Yeah, we can have up to 6, bro.
Oh,
yeah, we got.
I ain't got no overlays for 5 and 6, guys. Just saying.
That's fine. It won't be perfect, but like, dude, we've got we got so much good quality shit here for $20 a month, $25 a month.
So I'll bring Louis on here. I don't know whether he's connected or not. It's just a white screen on mine, so we're gonna test it real quick. No?
Yeah, let's see if it's click on it and see if his audio comes through.
All right. Now we got a loading thing, so he's definitely loading right now.
Yeah, it might be upload issues or bandwidth issues. I don't know.
We will figure it out.
All right, let's bring Jeff on, and then we can.
It disconnected. So I sent Jeff the link for StreamYard. Jeff, check your Facebook messages. I sent you a link for StreamYard. You should just be able to join through there and test your mic and camera, and real easy. Click a link, put your name in, and it's pretty easy. I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out. Easy, no problem. Arya, hi. Hi, Arya.
Yeah, hi, Arya.
Arya says, hi, friends. Hi, friends. Hi. Hi. Has anyone here read The Game is Life by Terry Schott? Anyone? Anyone?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound familiar.
Not me. I haven't read it. Can you give us a book report in the chat, please? Thank you. All right, so it looks like
we're gonna learn about the Jedi Order.
Jeff's in here. We're about to learn about the Jedis.
Inside information, first-hand information, ladies and gentlemen. Uh-oh, is it happening?
Yeah, it'll load up. It'll load up. Just give it time. All right. So this is what Jeff looks like when he's not wearing his human suit, and he's gonna help us out today. I'm gonna bring it up on the stream, and then we'll bring him in here. All right. First, we'll bring in his real photo, and then we'll bring on Jeff. Master Yoda, please teach us your ways.
How are you all?
I'm doing very well. This is your forefather on the screen, and we wish for you to connect to him and impart your knowledge of the Jedi Order to us.
No.
What does it mean to be a seminarian of the Jedi Order?
Well, Jediism is actually a full religion. And it's based off a lot of the stuff that oh my goodness, everything's gone. Alan Watts and Joseph Campbell
allow the Force to center inside you, my son.
The things that George Lucas was actually referencing when he wrote about the Jedi, and actual what is there. And Yoda is supposed to be how he introduces Buddhism.
That makes sense.
That was the whole purpose of Yoda, is to be Buddha. to.
That makes sense because he does like the cryptic statements that are kind of like the the Zen Koan riddle kind of thing going on.
Yeah, all that shit.
Yeah.
So it's really it's been really interesting to study. I've been studying it for about 3.5 years now. I will be finished. I have 10 more papers to write, basically.
You have to write papers. How many papers did you have to write total?
Probably something. I think it ends up being like somewhere around 150.
Whew, that is a serious endeavor.
Yeah, no, it's
wow.
The reason I picked this over like a whole bunch of other things is because when I kind of started looking at being ordained, because I will have an ordination, I will be able to open up a church.
Wow, man.
But why I chose this compared to something else, some of the other things. Number one, I was looking at Unity Village, and Unity would be great and it's wonderful, but they want you to actually live in the village, and at the time I couldn't do that. And then I was looking around. Okay, so what I realized I'm being called to do something. So what do I do? And I found this, and it was kind of like at first it was like, oh, that's kind of funny. I can go and be a Jedi priest, right? And as I started learning about it more and more, the more I realized I really connected. So it was fun.
That's like awesome. I'm loving all of this. What did you connect about it so much so that you wanted to pursue it to the depth that you have? Like obviously you still connect with it. It's still new to you. It's not like boring, obviously, and that's cool, man. So how do you connect to it? In what ways?
It's because for me, my practice of Jediism is all about the connection we all share. So I really do study the Force, as they explain it. And we can call it the Source. We can call it whatever you want to call it. I mean, like,
totally.
I've heard this, God of many names, that of which the Loki says the great unknown and unknowable. So
yeah, it's like a thing that we can't really know, but we put our best identity on it, and then we call it something. Right?
Yeah. And so what the energy that runs to us and through us is really what I've been studying, and how to express that, control that, because in law of attraction falls into that. Just how to teach it and how to be peaceful and in flow.
Is there like a standard like Jedi prayer or Jedi meditation that's done?
You would probably go through the code or the creed. Like if you were actually trying to think of something, there's the creed is they took something from I personally have one that I use.
Yeah.
That isn't official, but it's.
I'd like to hear yours.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are the best ones. The way that works for you, tuned it for you.
Yeah. So what I found, because they use something from Saint Agassi. I can't think of the name for that either. And I don't. I'm like, okay, it's very Catholic to me, but I'm not Catholic. But for mine, it's in the journey you find it is in the journey that we find ourselves. In ourselves, we strive for balance, and in balance there is peace. And I am an instrument of peace. I shall live my life with joy. I shall stay connected to all. I shall shine a light for those who are in darkness. I shall be a beacon of hope in the sea of despair. For I am but one of many instruments in the one song, and I am an instrument of peace.
That's really nice.
Oh man, beautiful. Wow.
I really, really like that. Actually, that is really nice.
How I resonate with it, because the Force kind of, every time I hear the Force, it actually kind of makes me laugh. It's like, oh my god, all right, but, you know what I mean. So I like Universe. I was a musician all my life, so one song, once I heard that, I was like, oh, that's right. That's why.
Totally.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. I'm so into like harmonics and sound and waveforms and stuff and then also like my work with plant medicines, and like I said earlier, the Shipibo people, their motto is the universe is a song and everything can be sung, and then like that one verse, so it's at least like one lyric or one part of a song or something. I was sold immediately when I recognized that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, I'm done.
And other people love it too. Love it. Beautiful. Jen's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like really beautiful, man. Thank you for sharing that. Really, I don't know if you publish that somewhere. I mean, that's something I would like share with other people because that's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's gonna be the prayer of his church coming soon.
Yeah, no doubt.
If I open a church, that would be what we would use instead of what they
What would you do? What would you do like in a church dynamic? Like what does that actually look like? Is a meeting on a certain like a traditional church thing? And then if it's so, what do you guys talk about or how's that go?
If I were to open a church, really I would want it in a greenhouse. Like what I see is like some kind of greenhouse-esque kind of space in the middle of a forest. Like it would be very natural and
it would be like Endar Moon, right?
Yeah, very much so.
Is that what it
Perfect. I love it.
Wow, well done, Angela. Wow.
I recognize that forest.
That was amazing.
In there with resonance.
That was amazing.
Wow.
The funny thing is that I hate all the temples except the one that Luke is at in what you call it, The Last Jedi, where
it's like out in the middle of nowhere, it's all ruined and stuff.
Right, and then there's the tree, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only really cool temple anywhere in the whole mythos. So
that one's definitely cool.
Yeah, for sure, man. I resonate with that for sure.
Yeah.
So inside of this greenhouse that's inside of that, how would you set, like, how do you set it up? Do people stand in there? Do people sit in there?
They meditate together?
Is there
Do
an
they sing?
altar?
Do you guys
what do they do?
chat?
There would be some way of meditation. It would start with a meditation, or song.
Yeah, totally.
And move into a talk about basically this. We can have a conversation just like this.
Cool,
what's the topic
man.
of the week? What are we talking about? And it could go a million different ways.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then.
So is that something you're looking to create in your own community, or like sometime in the future, like somewhere else, or when are you trying to do that?
In all reality, I'm not sure. So part of it is like right now I'm living nomadically. I live in an RV, and I did this with the intention of eventually leading meditations in some beautiful places.
Cool. Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Have you ever thought about, like, I mean, I don't know how public you are with your information or anything, but possibly like starting a group that people who are in the area, tell them you're the kind of traveler, and then you just do local meetups. Like, I'll be here next week. If there's people in the area, we can come together and do one of these meditations. I found a spot out here in the woods, or whatever, and like just do really cool meetups and meet people around the area wherever you're traveling.
Gypsy Jedi.
That is kind of the plan. I actually have a group.
Hey, I'll come out. You're in the Seattle area, you let me know, man. I'll be there for sure.
Definitely.
I'll get up at 6 a.m. for that. I would.
I would not.
What? Really?
I totally would. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it.
All right, cool.
You won't get up at 6 a.m. for anything. That's amazing. That's a cosign from. That is the craziest cosign right there. Wow. Wow.
I'd bring my brother with me. I'd bring my brother. He's that Jedi thing for his marriage certificate. Like, he married people or whatever. I'd like, come on, man. You've got to go. I found the official one, man. Check this out. Let's go do it together. This guy's a seminarian, bro. He'd probably want to pick your brain. Really.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could Jedi.
So when you're done with your 10 things, what's your title then?
I could actually call myself a priest or a cleric.
Oh, wow.
Like
A cleric of the Jedi.
I like cleric. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
better
will-
to do the
Yeah.
Catholic thing, huh?
yeah.
Gets away from the
It,
Catholic thing.
Have you ever seen the movie
Yeah.
Equilibrium with
I have
the clerics on there, the grammaton clerics?
Grammaton cleric.
Huh.
Woo!
I am definitely a sense offender.
Yeah, I as well. Same. But you'd be like Christian Bale's character. Like he's a sense offender too, but he's also the best man on the planet.
Exactly.
So, if you haven't seen the hit movie Equilibrium from 2002, it's definitely a good watch. It is violent about fighting and stuff, but it is got a very interesting plot to it and everything. And it's a Hollywood film, so expect the conditioning to be ripe and all these kinds of things. But it's still good film.
Totally.
Definitely a good film. Yeah, the concepts of the grammaton cleric and the gun kata that they had, like they were all about gunplay because it was from the future, but they very much so were still martial arts about it. In that a guy had developed a type of kata, right, like a type of a fighting style that in close range it gave you the highest chance to have easy shots while having the lowest chance of being hit. And so these grammaton clerics could, like in one of the scenes, Christian Bale has like a ton of dudes around him. I don't know, like 12, 15 dudes, something like that. Probably a very specific esoteric number of dudes, actually, but I don't remember how many. But nevertheless, he then stands in the middle of them, and like they're like, oh, like we got you now, and he's like, he just gets ready to do his thing, and then in close quarters he takes out all of these dudes, and it's it's pretty amazing. And like, I mean, the way that they have their guns chambered, when the bullet comes out, the muzzle flash generates basically an iron cross, right, or otherwise known as 4Ts, or basically a quad tau, which is an interesting way to point towards the Royal Arch Freemasons. But that's another story, another show entirely. Royal Arch Freemasons being equilibrium about sense offenses and stuff that probably doesn't have anything esoteric in it, but nevertheless, great movie. Clerics, that's what that was about. The guy Christian Bale and the other guys that worked there, the city was called Tetragrammaton, and then they had a police force basically that was known as the Grammaton Clerics, and they were basically a special force police force, the super baddest individuals. And so it's really cool movie though. But Cleric, that's cool. Cleric of the Jedi, that's a sweet ass title.
It is. So Jen said I lived outside. They're talking about plants, connecting with the plants for meditations potentially, or being out in that area. And Jen said I lived outside for so many years. I love plants so much. I slept so many nights in my hammock, intertwining my dreams with the forest surrounding me. Is that something you'd be interested in? I mean, is that up your stream of things or things you guys would do?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, April. This all started off of April saying back here to communicate with the plants as part of basically the ceremonial practice.
Yeah, I mean, finding your center and finding your connection. So one of the things that when a lot of my meditations, instead of focusing on your breath, I focus on the energy. And so you're focusing on the energy of what's around you.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of people say, wow, I didn't even realize there was a tree outside until I was
totally.
And they walked out to a window and there was a tree. They're like, oh.
Right.
I was doing a couple things with someone that was in somatic movement, and we were working together, collaborating, and I did meditations, and then he did somatic stuff after, and we had like an event. And in that room, there were all these plants in this dance studio that we were working in, and people would be like, I can feel that palm tree. Like, I could feel that plant. I knew this plant was there. Like, I knew I was with that plant.
So, and also the beautiful dynamic of just gathering people together in a light heart, a light focus, even in focused meditation or whatever, you can bring, especially in a physiological dynamic, you bring group heart coherence. And so if that amplifies things times 10 each person, not times 2 or 3, times 10 each time. And so it's a beautiful way. I mean, that's heartmathinstitute.org. They have all the research on that and measuring all those things. So it's human beings coming together. In the Bible, they even said let us, the gods, go down and destroy this temple of battle, because if we do not stop them, there is nothing that men puts their minds to that they will not be able to accomplish. It's not just mind. That's where the trick can be. It's not just left brain. That's mind, heart, right? Being in this mutually submissive place, mutually submissive to the dynamic that you're in. Like, if we come and do the Jedi thing, it's all you, man. I'm not there. It's like all about you guys and like what you're doing and doing what you're doing with you, finding unity in that dynamic. That's your zone, man. You're the leader in that dynamic. Awesome. I want to be led. Show me, teach me things. So
Yeah,
it's cool,
and
man.
and it's all about being in that connection. So it's not even, it wouldn't even be about me. It's about being in that connection and being able to facilitate that connection with people that are around me.
Beautiful. I appreciate that you even care about that the way you do, that you passionately are pursuing it through, like, as a seminarian. Awesome, man. How cool is that? What a cool story. That's cool. Yeah.
I think that's the way to go too, is like you got to find some, like, a storyline that you're passionate about, that you actually like and you really want to engage with. I've even found in my own life, like for a long time I was doing like Buddhism, and then I was like, nah, I'm gonna go to more like shamanism, and then I was like, man, I'm gonna do like Hinduism for a little. No, check out these Jesus stories. No, back over here, like, just because it was inspiring at the time. But I was learning new stuff from every place. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even got to follow the same path. Just if you follow your passion, you don't have to follow your path in.
Ooh,
that is actually awesome. And it's weird because I had for a long time had issues with people that were like the head of the Temple of the Jedi Order consider herself a Christian Jedi, and I'm like, that is not compatible. Like,
excuse me, we are officially religions here. Our religion has strict boundaries. You are either a Jedi priest or you are a Catholic priest. You are not a Catholic Jedi priest. Get out of here.
Like, it was the whole, like, for me, my practice of Jediism is very Eastern in its practice. So trying to get Christian how to make those merge. There is no death, there is the Force. Well, if you're going back to the Force, how are you going to heaven? And how did Christ create? How are you created by God? So how does that all, like, equal? So I had to really come up with how can I communicate in a way that is so that it doesn't cause a contradiction? How can
I feel like if I was to approach that, I would basically explain the Force as being kind of the same thing as like a oneness with God. So heaven is that oneness with God, but also from that oneness of God, we are birthed forth into our separation. But it's the connection with that oneness that is the Force that flows through us, and God's power inside of us to really carry out His will. That's the way that I would do it.
Yeah, that's how it was explained to me.
Okay, I've got an additional awesome way to connect those dots. Hold on.
Invisible Aaron has an awesome way.
Yeah.
I do.
Whoa, he has like 16 books. What's going on?
Yes!
No, I got four. All right, so look.
Show the book titles. Jesus lived in India.
Okay. This is going to help connect a lot of dots. Jesus was not just Western. He was very Eastern. There might have been multiple Jesuses. Maybe there were many Jedi. Okay, there's a lot of texts found in different countries, in the Eastern countries, in Japan, in caves that were sealed in like 1000 AD that go back to the times of Christ, even before, but they're Christ stories, Christ parables, very interesting, but they have their own spin, more Eastern than Western. A lot of the Christian today has been very Westernized. There's another one. Jesus. Go ahead and read it.
The Explosive Story of the 30 Lost Years and the Ancient Mystery Religions by Tricia McCannon.
Okay, great material, great research, great stories. Heard many, many interviews that she's done, like long interviews and things. And this is a lot of the lost history, too, of where Jesus was, getting all that knowledge during 30 years that he just, who knows what he was doing, right? Like, they cut all that out, man. This is what he was doing. He was learning from the lost mystery schools that even the Egyptians learned from, the Chaldeans, and farther back, like a lot of the ancient arts. And so a lot of the story's been twisted, and these books really help to connect the dots. So if you're into books, there's two really, really great books for that. Now, just while we're on the subject, I want to make a plug that this book right here, okay, was written by Mary P. Wyckoff, and Angela knows her as well. And she is someone we're going to look to be getting a segment to, possibly doing something called Galactic Bedtime Stories.
Nice.
Mary is an incredible storyteller, and like, just I cannot wait. We talked about it in Barbados over like a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, right, Ange? And so, just want to pitch that there. I'm putting that into the vortex. I love you, Mary. Can get you on here. All right, and then
Galactic bedtime stories. That sounds like fun.
oh man, I can't wait. Put that on as I'm going to sleep, man. Then add some binaural beats into it, and just totally, yeah, it'll be great. All right, so now this is a totally different deal. We don't have to talk about this necessarily right now because it's not really on topic.
What on earth are you doing with your life?
I'm in a marriage that I've saturated every level of intimacy I can, and I have a ton of neurogenesis going on because I cycle my energy left over, and I studied shit, man. Dude, and it was awesome, right? So this is the book of this is several books that were lost. So this overlaps the book of Enoch, the book of Jubilees, the book of Jasher. They're additional parallel texts to the original Genesis and Exodus and whatever. And they overlap in a lot of ways, but they add a lot of details that are beautiful. I wept through a lot of this stuff because they added details that I never knew were there in the Bible. We're just like, dude, it's like, what the fuck? Like, there's a weird situation that happened here. Well, that doesn't really make sense. Why would God do that? Or whatever. And it's like, or different things. It just adds details and layers that are make the story that much more. I get it, the Jedi thing. Like I went deep into. I went seminary level depth into the original Hebrew, original Christian traditions for my own like soul satiation, right? So I get the passion of a story that keeps expanding when you dive into it and expand the paradigms and the parallels and the symbol sets and how they apply archetypally into our psychology and all that stuff. It's awesome.
And you know, looking at the lost books of the Bibles, I've studied a few of those also, and you know, the story has been so twisted. You know, and if you listen to what he said, and not what he said and the story they put around him are completely different. So once you start, and it's very Eastern, so I could definitely believe that there's a story that he was in a Buddhist monastery for those 30 years. That he was there, and he went there after he saw the apostles.
Yes, he's like consecrated as a Buddhist monk, Saint Isha or something like this. Right?
I don't believe it. I don't know. Well enough.
Fascinating. Does it mention anywhere in any of those texts about Jesus coming to Glastonbury? About Arimathea. Does it mention it anywhere?
There is the Bible code that I'm deciphering right now. It's definitely before the end of the year, Angela.
The other one. One of the I. Jesus I.
Jesus I.
I don't know. We'll put that in the vortex.
I think it's very possible if these people were really actually basically like the Essenes, and in a certain way they were then spreading out from functionally, you could maybe centralize them around like Indus Valley or kind of around that area or something like that, then it would make sense. Like these people kind of maybe went every way from there. You know
okay, so Nina said my mom has interesting stories about Jesus. Nina, come on, we want to hear your stories, your family stories. I would love to hear these stories. Please come on. But you don't have to. I want you to feel pressured if it's like you don't want to come on. We really appreciate the comments.
Yeah, no pressure, but pressure. Okay? No pressure, but pressure. Like you don't have to do it, but do it.
Like come on,
you know?
Do it.
Like it's not required, but we need you to do it.
We promise you'll like it.
Oh, yeah. Do it, Arya says, do it.
Are you liking it, Jeff? You enjoying it? Being on camera and chatting?
It's a lot of fun. We're just, it's just a chat. So.
Yeah.
So Louis has been trying to connect, but StreamYard is not being friendly with him. If he can't get to work, Angela, I can like work with him when we're not in the middle of streaming and figure out whatever's going wrong. So
yeah, I don't know what it is. It's okay.
Nina says, when I get a device. What do you like watching this on like
What is it?
your
Are you on a
phone
flip
right
phone?
now or something? Like how are you watching
No,
this
maybe
now?
she has a flip phone that has a really advanced version of YouTube chat, but it has a terrible camera. I don't know. Like what phone could you possibly be on where you couldn't just go use your phone camera nowadays? Come on.
You remember back in the day when like they made the beepers advanced, where now it would like read out like a whole message on the screen. He has the extra progression of that, where it reads out YouTube chat and plays a podcast.
Well, I'm sorry, I can't come on live video. Just not. It won't do that.
Yeah, it doesn't do that.
My very first phone contract for my home phone, it came with an option of a cell phone or a beeper. And my cell phones were just now right there, right? It's an old MCI plan. I said, I don't want people to be able to get in touch with me 24/7. I'll call them back. Give me a beeper.
Right.
And I got the pager. Now I'm sitting here going, my phone. Where's my phone? Where's
Yeah. Or at the same time, you never actually have that thought very often because you know where it is 24/7, 24.257 hours a day. And it's like, if I ever have that thought more than once every 6 months, like something's wrong. Or if it doesn't, that thought lasts more than a few seconds, there's something wrong before I find it.
I usually always know where my phone is. That's for sure. It's kind of weird.
Yep. It's just like something to adjust to. The frequencies too, radiation, all that kind of stuff. That's solar dynamics and, just frequencies really. Get into one time, run these shows. We'll get into dirty electricity and really break down the science on that because I use devices like this that are I've studied I'm an electrician. I've looked at the wiring diagrams. Like they're actual devices that short circuit out. They're one of two on the market. This is the original one. He's an actual Graham and Stetzer. Is it Graham Stetzer? Yeah.
That's what it says on the thing.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking Sam Milham and Graham Stetzer or something. I don't know, whatever the electrician. But they've won a lot of lawsuits against electricity companies that come into Midwest farmlands, and when they do it, they don't. They're supposed to in the States do what they did in Europe, is carry an extra neutral wire back to the station, a return wire. They don't. They dump it into ground. Most of the homes now, if you look in your panel, when it fuses the ground to the neutral. It's not supposed to do that. It dumps into the earth. It carries that high frequency transients along the surface of the earth, and then it sends it back, kills or it'll bring the livestock production sometimes down to nil. And they can prove it by testing the frequencies in the earth. So every lawsuit they've got, I looked this up. I actually talked to the electrician, the owner who made these. I've talked to Sam Milham, who for 25 years at the University of Washington was the head of a department that oversaw like different types of research and social research, or I don't know, something. So like he's very involved. He's to this day, he's in his like 80s. And I've talked to him a few times on the phone about this stuff. And last time I talked to him, I was trying to be really encouraging because he was so defeated because nobody felt like really understood the danger of this. Like he shows in this book he wrote, man, like it's a very likely one of the biggest causes of cancer is dirty electricity as compared to the Amish people, showing the big change, especially in the 80s. But as it came into cities without electricity and with electricity, just the cancer rates alone. Because ideally you have a clean 60 hertz side wave, ideally in our system. But if you really zoom in on ours, it's massively just dirty, man. All other high frequency transients that really mess up cellular biological life, so your cells don't actually reproduce the way they should. So devices like this, they're $35 a pop and they have a meter, but you put them in, they actually short out the high frequency transients and clean the power. So the buzzing around your walls is a lot cleaner, and you may have never even known, especially a lot of people in this chat. You're so sensitive. You might buy one or two of these and it could really totally change how you sleep at night or whatever. And you wouldn't have known because you've never had anything to clean up, actually literally clean the wires running through the walls. And that's my pitch. It just came out.
I can tell you that I literally can tell a difference when I'm out here in the RV because I'm out in the cornfield right now. And being out here compared to when I go back to the city. You can feel the difference. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very, very real. I mean, like I said, these guys they have won every law. It's been settled out of court because they were going to we'll lose the lawsuits. So they've all been settled out of court. except there's one or two they've won, but they paid to have it suppressed in the press. But it's in the, you can actually look it up through the state records, and like I've seen, I'm attracted to make sure to like verify a lot of the shit. And so they really have. I mean, it's something that is affecting all of us. So really, ideally, we get out of the cities. You know, at the best, it's not just getting in your grass in your front yard, because a lot of that, most of us live in semi-suburban places. That's pretty dirty electricity ground. It is better than not getting your feet on the ground. You know, but the closer you can get to water, the better, the more negative ions. That's why getting salt blocks, even putting your phone on them at night next to your bed, if you sleep next to your bed at all, or even away from your bed, it still absorbs a lot of that negative energy, right? Obviously, orgone, there's different things. There also are energetic tools that work, but on a really practical level, salt blocks go a long way for doing a lot of things.
Where can people get those things, Aaron?
To Amazon, and we'll have to get links for the kind of stuff, like practical stuff, tools that like use all the time. But it really, Amazon.
What are they called?
Himalayan salt block.
I'll get you a link into Himalayan salt block. No, not those, man. No, the EMF, the EMI filters or whatever they're called. Come on, man.
Graham Stetzer filters.
Graham Stetzer filters. Those are on Amazon as well.
No, I don't actually. It'd be better if you go straight to their website. I think if you can order straight there. I think I might have had to call and place an order because they're kind of old school. These guys are older. They just know what they're doing. But that was I ordered these a year ago. I don't know. Things might be better, but they might also have them in Amazon. But anyway, they should be $35 a piece. If they're being sold like $50 a piece, you're paying too much. They're $35 a piece if you order them directly.
All right, I'm gonna drop a link in the chat. If you use this link, you will not only get yourself 2 Graham Stetzer filters, but you will also support the stream. Thank you very much. So you do need more than one of these. These only cover a certain range. Aaron was telling me that if you really want to get the whole house, you're probably on a standard house, you need like 8 to 11 or something, right?
8 to 10-ish. I mean, if you really want to do right, it is an investment. To me, I did enough research. I bought a lot of these. I bought some for me. Yeah. I bought them for my parents' place. As long as they're willing me to put them in, I know the science behind it. I know how it's literally killing them, right? And just people don't believe it or whatever. They don't believe enough to spend the money. I get it, but I did. Yeah. I do. So
and these filters measurably clear up basically the wave, the sine wave that's what you want. Normally, when that energy is running like this, and it's not good. You know, if you get 2 of these and you have them inside of your bedroom or whatever, that will probably that take care of your sleeping space. And sleeping space is a big deal. I feel like like every space is important, but your sleeping space is really a huge deal.
And so like a whole house, so they come with meters too. There's a $50 meter you buy and you plug it in the wall, and they did all the equations down to make it really user friendly, where you just get the number down below 50 and it's not affecting you negatively biologically. Ideally below 35, most people below 50 in a city area, that's fine at each outlet, because depending on how many devices you have plugged in, or in your computer area where you have a bunch of shit plugged in, there's going to be a lot more high frequency transient there. So you'll want it in that space. Or in your sleeping space, just notice it. Just make sure in that space all of it's good. But it's also interesting too. They show the lights, the worst lights. They add a lot of high frequency transients. That again, even the WHO acknowledged that frequencies above 200,000 hertz cause damage to biological life. Now they know it's actually even lower than that, but most of the high frequency transients are way above that, and so they're very damaging. And so So anyway, oh no, I totally lost my train of thought.
Anyways, the point is, if you want to clean up the energy in your room, these things work good for the wall. There is kind of an unknown problem that does exist with that kind of stuff. I mean, we really don't take into account that when we make like technological improvements like this and these huge leaps and stuff, that there really is like stuff that needs to be done in order to take care of that oftentimes. Otherwise, we really are messing up our physiological function.
There really is really good YouTube channels I've made on I think if you scroll through all the channels I've made on that playlist I've made on that channel, I think there are ones of this family that were creating a whole new version of a home using all this stuff, EMF shielding for their house as they were building it, lining it in the walls, behind the sheetrock in certain ways, really, really researched and really well done, different types of construction, and they walk through their whole process. And then as they go, mistakes they make or things they wish would have done differently, or why this thing didn't work out, or good ways to do things. And there really are a lot of great channels out there. Been doing this stuff for years. People just don't know about them.
All right. Well, got to take care of your energy, whether it's by way of the Force or an EMI filter. I think we can all agree on that, huh?
Yes, and.
Oh man. So, Angela, have you been in contact with Louis at all, or?
I think he's still backstage. I do not know what the issue is.
Yeah, I won't even let us bring him on.
Is he ready to come on? I have a thing over because I'm messing with descriptions. I can't see if his thing's ready now.
Why? So I clicked on his thing. It says your guests will need to connect their mic or camera before you can add them to the stream. So if he has to go, he should have a bar on the bottom of his screen, I think, that says like the camera mic settings / mic settings, and then he'll have to make sure he selects his headset or the laptop mic or.
Yeah. I will just send him a message.
Okay. In the meantime, Arya said, a friend got me a pyramid a couple years ago. She created a Shungite monster out of me. Dude, and somebody mentioned Shungite earlier too. Yeah, so Shungite also has carbon C60 in it. You know, it's very rare in that way also, but also the negative ions and the different resonance of the materials, black and energy absorption of light and different dynamics. So there's a lot of things that really can. I mean, the biggest thing is no matter what you're wearing or jewelry or crystals or anything, is like how much do you really come into belief system in a sense with an unseen dynamic, or some of you do see it. But if like I understand the resonance, or I can feel that something I do when I intentionally wear a certain crystal with an intention put into it, it massively amplifies the crystal. It's not just some thing I throw on, you know? Like everything I wear very purposefully for different reasons. They make me feel certain ways. You know, I feel certain ways and I see it and it reminds me of an internal feeling. But there's also benefit here of the actual crystal itself. The consciousness, if you will, or the engagement is very unique also. But it's just that, I don't know, constant engagement things, I guess.
All kinds of different ways that you can clear up your space. So here's what I'm thinking. Louis sent me a song that I would like to play on here, and we could take ourselves a little break. He says that he's actually Skyping with someone else. Angela, if you can let him know that because he says he's Skyping with someone while he's backstage, we can't bring him on the show while he's Skyping, of course. Okay. So if you can get him off of that while we're running, you know, we'll take a little break and we'll play his song and all of this kind of stuff. And then hopefully we can bring him on after that. The song's about 10 minutes. Jeff, I appreciate you having you here tonight, talking about your stuff. Can you let us like plug yourself? You know, plugs away.
Really, the best way to contact me is through Facebook or here on my channel, TrueAwesomeLife.com. So
cool.
And yeah, I'm always willing to talk to anybody. So
awesome. Thanks,
well, it was wonderful to have you on the show, Jeff. We're going to go ahead and run some music, and hopefully when we are back, we'll be able to get Louis on here so he can tell us about that music and tell us about the segments that he's going to have coming up, and we can hear from Angela and him. And thank you so much for coming on, Jeff. It was really nice to see you, man.
See you soon.
Yeah. And
have a good one.
Zach, are you able to put an overlay on while the song's playing that says the name of the song and who it's by, just so people know, pop in, can see, they know what they're listening to?
It had things on top of it, I thought. No, there's really not a way for me to do that. Well, I can put it in the banner or in, you know, like in a banner or something like that, but I don't even know what to write in it.
Oh, that is the title of the song in there?
Yeah, this ain't gonna help nobody really, though.
I'm gonna
be honest.
Song title.
I mean, here you go. Look, I'm gonna check out the song title. Put up the song title on banner. You will be, if you copy this, you will be able to find it somewhere. But you know, it's not. There you go.
No,
that is the song title.
No, it is not.
I 100% guarantee you.
Oh, that's the one he sent you. Okay, because I sent you one too. There was a different one, but it's not that one. But that's fine. That's the title of the song, Ange?
This is the one he sent me.
Oh, she's talking to him, I think. Okay,
it's
whatever.
Link, copy pasted. So we are going to run to a break. We're going to play this song. I did not listen to it ahead of time, so if it's like a jump scare in the middle of it or starts playing like a porno or something, well, my channel's getting banned, I guess. So anyways, it probably doesn't. So here we go. Let's hope.
Jesus.
There's an energy, there's an essence, love unknown to earth, reaching in our direction. Translating dreams into future perfection. Like some new language, without past, present, or future time. Magic of the moment. Time and time again. Tracing sweet inspiration. I sleep in other beds of reality. Waking rich with hidden treasure. My soul springs into songs I never knew. Jumping in heart first. Hypnotized by the flow. Building pyramids of prayer. Deep in nighttime energy. Without an image to wear. I look in empty spaces. Listening to the silence. Refreshing myself anew. Holding on to the trance. From the inside out. Understanding the magic of music between us. Living realities where everything that is good. Holding on to the trance from the inside out. Understanding the magic of music between us. Living realities where everything that is good. is an essence, a love unknown to her, reaching in our direction, translating dreams to future perfection. Like some new language without past, present, or future time, for the magic of the moment, time and time again. Chasing sweet inspiration, I sleep in other beds of reality, waking rich with hidden treasure. My soul springs into songs I never knew. Jumping in heart first, hypnotized by the flow, building pyramids of prayer, deep in nighttime energy, without an image to wear. I look in empty spaces, listening to the silence, refreshing myself anew, holding on to the trance from the inside out, understanding the magic of music between us, living realities where everything that is good, so good, good, so good, living realities where everything that is good.
And we have returned. Well, at least I have. These other individuals, I can't speak for them. Anyways, that was very beautiful. I had never heard any of that before. I was very interested in that music. I like the first ceremony thing. I really like the birds that were inside of it. Those were the things that stood out most to me. I'd love to hear what stood out the most to you. The second song, I really definitely, it was one video, but it definitely seemed like two songs to me. If that's the way it was made as one song, well, okay, but there was two songs to me. And the second song that was in there, I really liked the guitar inside of that song. I was very, very pumped on that guitar. So, Charlotte, I'm glad that you liked it. Looks like Angela has made her way back into the fold. Hi, Angela.
Hello, hello, hello.
Did we ever find Louis or find out what he's doing?
I think he might be being rescued. Yeah, so it's quite fascinating. That's just one snippet of Louis's work. He does a lot of fusion style sounds. So somebody that mixes reggae with jazz. He's an absolute jazz lover.
That's interesting. Were you on here when I was talking about jazz the other night? That was weird. That was the first time I had ever made any metaphor even remotely like that. Like that was just like kind of occurred to me on the fly. It was like, and I loved it so much.
Oh my goodness. So Louis played with some quite amazing people. The Wailers at their studio.
Which is Bob Marley's band, if you don't know who the Wailers are.
Yeah, Inner Circle.
Inner Circle that's crazy too.
Yeah. So he just magnetizes musicians towards him. Well, so we're going to collaborate on a project which is about music for the Fifth World of Peace. It's quite exciting, and it's about artists who really just want to play without getting too entangled in any type of industry setup, basically. So it's quite interesting. He has some amazing ideas that would really, and connections that would really work and gel well with the project that you're proposing. So yeah, I can't wait for you two to meet. So I'm praying he gets on.
Well, we will make it happen in the long run. Somehow it will all come together when it is the right time. And I'm sure that's probably soon.
Yeah.
So
I'm really pleased. I'm going to take this opportunity to plug the future show.
Okay.
Called Women's Work, that you're kindly hosting for me there on Expanded Understanding. And it's basically focused, around a woman's life. So that's we look at issues that affect any stage of a woman's life from birth to death. So it's really quite fascinating. It encourages really strong sisterhood, but also it will give people the opportunity to go into women the opportunity to go deeper into their traumas, about how to deal with male frequencies, how to deal with all sorts of issues that affect any woman's life. And that is my working passion, is women's health and how these emotional impacts and issues affect the physical well-being of the skin suit. It's a real passion. So I'm so looking forward to basically bringing helping people, because that's why I do what I do, because I love to help. So
well, we love having you here helping us. I know everybody in the chat really appreciates you, like Jen here, sending loving energy your way. And it looks like Nina's very interested in your idea, and Arya also says that she wants to attend that discussion. It's going to be right here on this channel for free. Can you believe that? So tell your friends, have them come here and be with beautiful Angela while she tells her story and helps other people with their stories, and be even more of a part of the community, an ever-growing community, an ecosystem for conscious creators. And Angela, we are very lucky to have you as a part of that. I can tell you've been doing your thing for a really, really long time. So
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate having you here. Really, really do. And I'm definitely what time and day again? I don't think we know what. I think the time we kind of have an idea. I think we're doing it at 9 p.m. UK. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Although,
okay, 9 p.m. UK is 1 p.m. Pacific, and so like 4 p.m. Eastern. I think that's accurate. You'd have to double check with your time zone thing, but I will. Yeah, 9 p.m. UK. Do we have a day decided yet?
Maybe that day is 18th of May.
Okay, and then is that a thing? It was my understanding we're doing that. Are you doing that weekly? Would it be every week on the same day?
It would be weekly on the same day, yeah.
Okay, so this will be a Monday event starting in 2 weeks from now.
Exactly.
So,
Monday seems like a good broad day.
Monday is a good day. Moon day. That's a good day for feminine things. So
absolutely.
We will have some some of that, and we have to collaborate on some ideas for overlays and all that stuff like that. So 2 weeks gives us a good amount of time to do that, and a good amount of time to get the word out and have more podcasts and tell all of our friends and get more people here in the community so that they can also hear Angela's wonderful stuff and they can hear me talk about ridiculous stuff, because let's face it, that's mostly what I'm doing. But this is really cool. I'm super excited. I'm super excited that you collected, like, I don't know who knew Louis, because I know, like, you and Aaron seem to know the way, but I think Louis is actually someone that you knew originally.
Yeah, Louis had this random thought come to his head, right? And he thought to himself, I really need to ring up and call up Glastonbury FM. And at the time, I was hosting a show there called the Wellbeing Hour, and they said, "Oh, you need to speak to Angela. You need to speak to her." So he tried to get hold of me on another time, and the other person said, "You really need to speak to Angela."
Angela's the person you need to talk to here, not anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Just speak to her. So I got him on the show, discovered some really quite amazing stories about his life. He's led such a fascinating life. You know, down to his journey about how he ended up in Jamaica in a recording studio, doing all of that kind of thing, and meeting these amazing musicians and doing these amazing gigs in kind of like a gypsy caravan extravaganza. So there'd be loads of these guys going out on, you know, together on these missions to bring this fusion music to people. But one of the things that I found was that Louis had this ability. Once I started actually listening to his produced material, it was of a really good, high quality, really well put together, composed, beautifully made. And then it just dawned on me, wow, you've actually been collating all this music, poetry, sound, all of his material for the last 30, 40 years for the Fifth World of Peace at this time now. It's absolutely fascinating. So
That it is crazy how sometimes, like, it seems like those timelines have really been converging. There's so many of them around this time, you know, like, aside from all the prophecies, just your own personal experiences of seeing how, like, people that you've met, people that you've worked with, or even just in like your own journey, is really like this crazy culmination convergence time. At least it seems to me. Does it seem that way to you?
Yeah, it really is. People just, you know, meeting you on that street corner, the synchronicity is marvelous. And, you know, it does reflect a change in what's happening. Those confusing timelines or scenarios where people didn't get to connect with the right people, all of that scenario has been lifted from the planet pretty much. And it's been part of an ongoing program. But it really is ever apparent now. Suddenly, you're just able to magnetize in the right person. You were supposed to meet somebody else for something else. And before you know it, you're awake at 6 a.m. Every night.
Every single night. Oh, well, you know, that's how it is sometimes. Sometimes time turns into a completely different timetable.
Yeah, exactly. And I so get what you're saying about you like to have a plan, but you don't like to be, you know, have that rigidity.
Yeah,
You know,
8-ish. That's 8-ish. I like the ish times.
Ish is very important to our culture.
Yeah. Although I gotta say, commonly my ish, I'd say it almost always means after the time that I said. It's never like I show up 15 minutes early.
Exactly. I mean, I try to do Navy time, but that doesn't, you know, it's different nowadays. In this new time, you just trust that you arrive in divine timing.
Yeah, I don't even remember where it comes from. It might be like Lord of the Rings or something, but the idea that like a good wizard's always on time, you know, you just believe that you're showing up at the perfect time.
Yeah, and it will be. You know, that's so true, actually. It really, really is.
In a certain way, the only thing that makes it the wrong time is when your own perception says, oh, it would have been better if I showed up some temporal displacement from here. But if you're good enough at like transmuting the scenario, any time is the right time.
Yeah.
So it's always the perfect time.
Exactly. And, you know, I've been in a position where I've had to really work hard to get through that scenario where it's all going wrong and suddenly there's a challenge, you know, happening around you and you have to make it all right.
Yeah.
You know?
Jeff, who was on earlier, who's True Awesome Life here, he says, LOL, there is freedom in schedules. And I must admit, I worked with Jeff. Where I met Jeff was actually working with a group of coaches named Chad and Holly Oxtat, and he works with them. But he handles like their scheduling and stuff. And so when clients work with them, he works with them like setting out a whole schedule. And like we talked for like an hour, and we set out like a 24-hour day schedule. And he was like very clear, like you don't have to follow this. You're just setting out the schedule so it gives you a guideline or whatever. That exercise single-handedly showed me that like my accountability and discipline to any kind of a schedule was just dog shit. I mean, like I had such a higher belief in myself, but through just setting that, and like it was in no way like, oh no, Jeff messed up my life. He saved my life in a certain way, because I was like, whoa, I really need to work on this. Like I can't hold to any of this. Like this whole 24-hour day schedule, I can't do any of it. I have an issue with my discipline. So if anybody knows about freedom in schedules, Jeff would be that guy, and maybe he has some system for helping you out with that. I don't know. I worked with some business coaches that he works with, so I think he does his own thing too. I'm not sure. Jeff, tell us in the chat. So, yeah, anyways, time, man, schedules. So, but I think we're lucky to be here at this time, if you want to say that there is a time, because like we could be here at like some boring time where nothing was changing, right? Like it felt like it was basically the same slog for the whole life, right? But it very, very much so does feel, at least in like my life, there's been some stuff going on the whole time, and a lot of it was very, very like prominent. I feel like I was lucky to catch on like a lot of things. You know, when you have like, well, back in the day it was like this, but now it's not like that anymore. I got super lucky to catch like the golden age of a bunch of things through my life. Like I was like skateboarding right before it got super cool, and it was like the golden age rebel thing of skateboarding. I was like into hip hop slightly before it was cool, and when it was really cool, I was like the good days of the rave days. Like when I was like had my life dedicated to climbing, like the end of that was like when climbing became very en vogue. Literally, like probably I would say 100 times more people climb rocks now than did when I climbed rocks. When I climbed rocks, it was still like weirdos out there climbing rocks. You know what I mean? It was a strange thing to do. And then I think it was like the second or third year that I had been spending my whole life climbing. One of the most popular climbers, kind of Chris Sharma, was on the cover of Rolling Stone, rappelling down in front of a window with shirt off, all glistened up, and like looking all sexy. And Rolling Stone had voted rock climbing the #1 sexiest sport. And honestly, in a certain way, community-wise, it was all downhill from there, boys. You missed it. It was all downhill from there. That's when, like, all of a sudden you started having, all for lack of a better words, these chads out at the boulders that, like, these guys, they're supposed to be in the gym, to be honest. Like, they're not supposed to be out here. You're doing the wrong thing. They're doing weird stuff. There's, like, a group of, like, 27 of them to come up to the boulders and stuff. And it's just like, hey, you're just, this isn't how we do this out here. Like they very much so displaced a way of life in order to try and like mingle with it, and it completely changed what that was like in most areas. Most popular climbing areas just have an enormous amount of people at them at this point in time. If you want to actually get like that good natural climbing, you got to actually know the area and know where there's like shit that people don't go to, which is always, that's everywhere. Like anywhere that has good rocks has a bunch of good rocks that no one goes to, but you have to know where those are if you want to have that real, like, there's a different thing with climbing when you're climbing like a very tall, scary boulder And you know, like, if I fall, this is bad news bears. Like, I'm breaking something for sure if I fall from here. And, like, the landing's not even set up good because you could only carry, like, 2 pads up there because you came by yourself. And, you know, like, if I break my leg right here, like, I basically have to crawl, like, 2 miles to my car through, like, a talus field. That's not going to go very good. That creates a completely different engagement with self than climbing that same boulder with 20 of your friends down beneath it. And they, like, all of them carried a pad, so you basically have a gym floor underneath the boulder, and these guys could literally hoist you onto their shoulders and carry you out over the talus field or something. It's a totally different experience. It's a totally different experience. So, nevertheless, it took a lot of the, you know, some things away from climbing, and it's still great. Still great discipline. Still a cool thing. A lot of these guys are cool, you know, to all the Chads out there. You're not all bad. You know?
Chavs. I can't believe you know that word, chavs.
Well, it's interesting because English people say chavs, and then in a recent emergence on the internet, people started referring to the same kind of people that you would call a chav as a chad, C-H-A-D, as though it is like, it's a guy's name. It's kind of the same thing as calling someone a Karen. You know what I mean? Like the idea that they're like, you know, they're bitchy, oh, get me your manager, this kind of concept. It's another one like that where you're like a Chad. There's actually several others of them. There's like an Andy, which may say that's kind of a weird one, but I'm not going to go into explaining these. There's several of them. Apparently, the new way to make up weird identities is just to put a literal name on them, like someone's
What
name.
is an Andy? Please do tell.
Well, the usage of it is pretty kind of muddled now at this point in time. There's a guy that used to be on MTV named Andy Milonakis. And Andy Milonakis, it was like a comedian, and he has a disease that makes, like, I don't know what the whole ins and outs of the disease are, but the disease makes you look much more childlike, right? So, like, Andy Milonakis is, like, in his 30s and stuff, but he still looks like he's basically, like, 16, 17 or whatever. But he's always been like a crazy guy. He's really nice. He's really funny, all this kind of stuff. But he streams on Twitch, and he's kind of popular on there. Some of the other people that were around him and stuff started referring to, like, doing things that, like, he did, basically. You would be like, okay, so say you were a streamer that only, like, reacted on other videos. You would be a React Andy, right? Like, so it would be the thing that you did, but then, like, this Andy thing ended up on the end of it. Now it's ended up very muddled because it's all broken up into these little, like, segmented terms of there's specific kinds of things, like a React Andy, right? That it's the whole term now that's the thing, but it's still the same thing going on with it, that they like just tossing on Andy, Chad, Karen, you know. It's like, it's kind of a weird emergence in colloquialisms, really. I feel like we've gotten very lazy. But it's interesting with the Chad one that the Chads that, you know, these people talk about basically are the same thing that British people have been calling chavs for quite a long time.
I had no idea. That's good to know. I like that.
Dude, if you ever want to have a good time hearing about slang, I mean, maybe Angela knows a bunch about it, but, like, the way that people in certain places of the UK just, like, we'll call it, for lack of a better word, talk shit to other people, is not the words that you would expect a person to use to do that, being an English person. It's very, very interesting. There's, like, I don't even have any off the top of my head. They're too, like, outside of my standard dialect. It's like a different language. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, do you know of any off the top of your head that you know that it's like a thing that, like, we say in Britain, but we don't say it anywhere else?
Muggle. You call people muggles, don't you?
I call people muggles too.
Generally, in a certain demographic, expletives are used.
Sure.
Now, are we talking like bloody? Is that an expletive in that culture? Is that
bloody hell, for example?
But is that on par with saying fucking hell?
Yeah, it's a bit weaker though. I grew up with it being slightly weaker.
Yeah.
So your mom said bloody a lot. She's a bloody good mom, huh?
Yeah. Oh, that's a bloody good deal. Bloody marvelous. That is.
Right on.
Oh man.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I'm so sorry.
Okay. What about Muppet?
Muppet.
Yeah.
That
Okay, I was
means
serving.
you muppet.
Okay, listen. Oh wait, maybe it was Australian or something. Listen to the context I heard it in, because that was not what it meant. Because she explained it to me. All right, so when I worked at Red Robin, I was a server, and she had I thought it was a British accent. Maybe it's Australian, maybe something. And like, I brought her, I don't know, I brought her food, but she had ordered the salad instead of the wrap. I don't know, and she realized she had told me the wrong thing or something, right? And so she was very humble and very very kind of blushing, like, "Oh, I'm such a muppet." Like a fool, or made a mistake, such a dummy, like in a very lighthearted way. It seemed very but colloquial. I was like, oh, what a sweet way to say that. I'm such a muppet.
Muppet.
You know?
I'm a
I was like,
muppet.
oh, yeah. So I don't know. Is that not British? Is that not familiar to you?
Yeah, it is. But you would say you muppet.
Oh, more derogatory.
Yeah. More more emphasis on being derogatory.
On it being a
in any
bad thing.
Down.
Yeah.
God.
I'm trying to find. I cannot find it. I've been doing different keyword searches on here, but there's that video. It's gone around, at least on Facebook. I've seen it a couple times in the last year, a couple years. But it's about everybody knows like a douchebag named Kyle. Have you seen that? And the whole video is about Kyles and the way Kyles are. Like if you grew up kind of.
There's another one.
Yeah, but it's like
people started doing this.
No, I know, but it's done so well to me. Like I knew Kyle's growing. Like this fits archetypally to people I knew so perfectly. It's so.
Oh, it's funny. Accurate. It's accurate. So one of them that I found here was it was arse over tit. Do you ever hear anybody say that?
Arse over tit.
No, what is that?
According to this website, it's the undignified process of falling over most commonly occurring when completely arseholed or drunk.
Yeah, absolutely. Arse over tit because you're shit-faced.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Is that like 3 sheets or 4 sheets to the wind? What does that mean? So like you're full sailing into the inhibitiousness part of you?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's a word, but you know what I'm saying.
So the word faff or faffing.
Faffing around.
Faffing. Yeah.
That's sort of like messing around, fumbling, fidgeting, playing with something.
Where you might say like, hey man, stop fucking around. You could also say, hey man, stop faffing around.
Yeah, okay, it sounds nice though, a faff, doesn't it?
I don't know. We need to distinguish though. This is different than fap. Not stop fapping around. It's to start faffing around. There's a whole November culture around not fapping. This is not fapping. This is faffing.
Faffing, yes. Yeah. So in a fun impromptu segment, Aaron, if I was to say that someone was full of beans, what do you think I would mean?
Is that in that really kind way, or maybe back in the day, just as insulting a way of saying someone's full of shit?
No, it's not. You're incorrect. It's possessing endless quantities of get up and go, almost to the point of annoyance.
Yeah,
full of beans.
It's like having a descriptive for wind.
Ah, full of beans. Wait, so wind description for wind. So Geminis are full of beans. Is that what you're saying?
No, beans give you wind.
Mm-hmm. Beans give you wind.
Yeah, so
beans. Beans give you farts.
Nice.
Farts are wind. Being full of that wind gives you get up and go to do things. That fart is the drive. It's like some nitrous oxide for you.
That is not where my mind's at all. That's so much better. That's great.
Right. I must say, actually, one of the best things that happened, there was this magical submarine that was launched in Britain. I don't know if you saw it.
Mm.
It was a yellow submarine, and it could walk along the sea floor. It was a part of some sort of kit.
It was filled with some kind of insect, right? It had insects in it. Maybe beetles.
Something it had in there. But they had a competition. The government had a competition to see who could come up with the best name, voted for by the British people. Says it all.
And then they can just replace the beetles with other beetles, like the monkey experiment, as they want to over time.
Yeah.
Once everybody engages the images in their mind.
Welcome to Britain. So,
Welcome to the old world.
The name of the boat that was voted as being the best name was called Boaty McBoatface. How dreadful is
I
that?
remember that. I remember that because 4chan made that happen. A bunch of 4chan. There's a forum called 4chan that's been around for a very long time. Basically, this is where trolls came from on the internet. You could honestly say it's that dark spot underneath the bridge on the internet where all the trolls crawled out from. They've now crawled out many years ago and have mated with people from other cultures, and now you find trolls from all walks of life. But originally, they came from 4chan, and 4chan likes to group together to make public votes like that do really dumb shit, like name fucking naval vessels Boaty McBoatface.
No doubt.
And I'm sure it had a face as well.
So good, man. But they've done a lot of very interesting stuff. Oftentimes, they're really just trying to incite people, so a lot of that stuff has been racist. But if you look past the racism and just towards the idea of people working together as a group just to incite energy in a group of individuals, a lot of their things, very funny, honestly.
Oh, no doubt, man. For sure. Yeah, it's very well done.
All happening at 4chan then.
I like how we're talking about naming naval vessels Boaty McBoatface on our Expanded Understanding podcast, which already is like, what are you guys really doing? But then our chat's over here talking about numerology and life path numbers and shit. Like, they're having the show that everybody would want to watch while we talk about Boaty McBoatface.
All right, so well, two things. Do you want to...
Hey, I would just like to know, would the chat like to come on the show and host the show so we can go in the chat and learn something?
No shit. Right, no shit. I've been trying to follow it, catch up over here. Like, I was listening to the last part. I'm like, holy shit, man. I'm missing a whole bunch of dialogue.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
if you wanted to learn about life path numbers and what the life path number is of all these people in the chat and a long, beautiful conversation about it, make sure you check out the live chat during the replay, because don't listen to this. Read the chats. We're just talking about boats and their dumb names.
It's great how they work together. Interchangeable at all times.
Oh, my gosh.
all the same story.
Right, lovely people. I'm going to slink off into the distance.
Okay.
Okay. I understand.
Yeah.
Well, at some point in time, we'll get Louis on here and we'll get it figured out.
Well,
we're gonna take another short break to play Angela out because I like the segmenting idea. Aaron's gonna say something here, but I got another song from Louis too that he sent me, and so I want to play that song, and I think it's perfect to do it while Angela's on the way out, and then Aaron and I can come back and have in-depth conversations about boat names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got one to start with. So, real quick, Zach, while we're off, if I sent you Louis' Messenger or Facebook profile and vice versa, since we are taking a break, I think we're kind of close to getting a technological breakthrough here and figure out some things. I just hit a brick wall, so I think you'll be able to see some nuances that I'm not seeing, and might be able to have them by the time we get back.
Okay.
In Messenger, I sent you his profile link.
I added him as I sent him a friend request now.
Yes. See if you can you not send him a message yet? Looks preemptively. And Louis, if you're still listening too, you can always add him as a friend real quick and just make sure you're there on Messenger. He's got the StreamYard link, so that's not so much the issue. It's that there's something going on where his laptop's not seeing his camera maybe, or his face isn't showing up like we've seen backstage here. But he was worried.
Yeah, well, I mean, he could keep his camera off, and we could just go by voice. That's totally fine too. So
it might be fixing the mic array or settings on there or something through that. We didn't quite get that far, so.
I'll try and figure it out in Facebook chat while we are away at the break.
Great. Sounds good.
What were you saying before I cut that off to talk about other stuff?
No, that was it. Just to connect with Louis if we're going off camera, so yeah. That's great. We'll get some Louis on the way out. Say good night, which is really good morning to Angela, because I see the sunshine coming up right over your eyes, Ange. Right over your eyes and your nose and your eyes.
And I'm tripping balls looking at your graphics.
Dude, they are the best,
Tucked
man.
into the
They're
screen.
always like some kind of harmonic resonance, some kind of coherence with what we're saying or about to say or did just say, or like, yeah, they're great.
Yeah, right there. Okay, thank you very much. I'll say that to you both.
Thank you for stopping by, Angela. We all look forward to your show very much. I'm going to help host it with her to make sure there's no technological difficulty so we can get her wonderful information to you. And we're very excited to have all of you there too. Stay posted with all of our stuff in order to figure out exactly when that's going to be. We think 9 p.m. UK time on Mondays starting the 18th, but maybe that's subject to change. And we appreciate having you here. Angela, as always, I hope you have a very good sleep.
Thank you very much. I shall schedule it.
And the Jedi Seminarian says, thank you, Angela, for your beautiful energy.
Oh,
you are being guided to sleep by the Force. You're wrapped in a Force blanket.
It started guiding me about 6 hours ago.
That was actually just the power of Jeff's training. When he starts walking within 6 hours of your temporal space, you start to feel the Force that precludes him. The Force awakening, you could say.
And the thing is, I'm actually in bed, but you'd never know.
I believe it. I see it.
All right. So, Angela, we love you. Good night. Here's another song from Louis, another member of our community that hopefully we will meet later. And if not, we will meet him at another even later than that. The song is named Mystery of Mysteries. And I'm sure it's just as wonderful as the previous stuff that we heard. I'm just going to go ahead and bring him on and start talking to him and kick Aaron out of here until he gets back. Then we'll bring on Louis. Louis, hello. Can you hear me?
Aloha, hola, hello. I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. We can hear you perfect, too. It is very good to meet you. I have not said your last name or anything yet because I don't want to mess it up. So could you introduce yourself to everybody that's here and everybody that joins the stream, watches in a replay or anything like that?
Aloha, hola, aho, hello. I am Louis Marie Blanche. I'm the Cherokee, Choctaw, Blackfoot, French gumbo yaya guy.
That is a very interesting introduction. What do all those things mean to you? Like so how do you combine all of those things?
Well, you know what it means is I had experiences as a child where I was often asked, like, what are you? People would speak different languages to me, maybe Spanish or, I'd be asked all the time. And at a very early age, I started telling people that I was a man of the universe. And later on in life, I thought, what did they think? I'm 7, 8 years old telling them I'm a man of the universe. And I thought they must have been thinking I had this incredible ego or something going on with my thinking. But I didn't know. That's the best way I describe myself to people. And then I like going to, like, sometimes when I was going to Mexico and I had to get a visa, I'd put, I always checked other. Oftentimes I will put, if I put Native American or Creole, my father's side of the family is from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And my mother's side of the family is from North Carolina. The Cherokee and Blackfoot come from my mother's side, and the Choctaw and French Creole comes from my father's side. But I had this rather ambiguous understanding of race. I didn't really see race. I was always the person of color in, the communities I lived in, the schools I went to. But I had a beautiful experience where I had what I call a Disneyland vacation, where I was in a state prison in Arizona. And when I signed in that facility, I put the word Creole for my culture, for my race. And in the prison system, they have, it's segregated. Races, there's basically segregated along gang lines. But there are Aryan nations, there's Black nations, there's Chicano, there's Asian. And but I was given a room first, and they misinterpreted my Creole, what I wrote as Creole. They thought I was Caucasian. And because they separate races, the roommate they sent me was a Caucasian guy. Normally, they never mix races because that's taboo, right? So I had been told coming into the Disneyland vacation situation I found myself in that I would be confronted about my race and my culture. So the first night I got my bag of my little duffel bag of all the goodies they give you, and I go to an outside tent, and my bed was a cot. It was like a big army tent with maybe 100 beds in it. And as I was making my bed, the representatives of all the races actually came over to my bed while I was there making my bed. And later on, I realized that they were introducing themselves to me because they were the racial elders of that particular culture in the prison. And the next morning I would get up, they wake you up around 4 in the morning. It's not, the sun isn't out, you get finished eating. And I had a practice where I would sing to the sun. I would eat, and then I'd go out and I would face east, and I'd sing to the sun. But my first morning on this Disneyland vacation yard, I went out to sing to the sun, and I was out there singing. And this guard calls me over and he says, "Hey man, what are you doing over there? Come here, come here." And I said, "Oh, what do you want?" He goes, "You can have a radio in here. Give me that radio." And I said, "I don't have a radio." I heard the music. Give me the radio. And I said, "Hey, look, I was singing over here." And he said, "Oh, wow, okay." He goes, "Well, what's your name?" And he asked me where I was staying, and I told him I was in the tents. And he said, "I want to see you at 6 o'clock. So he came and met me at 6, and he took me to the chaplain's office. And the chaplain and this guard's name was JC. It was actually short for Jesus Christ. It was very odd. I called him serendipity doodahs, but a lot of serendipity doodahs happened. This is my first morning on a prison yard, and I'm singing to the sun, and the guard calls me over, and he takes me, and I meet the chaplain. But while I'm waiting to go in and meet the chaplain, there's a German Yaqui brother there. He's the chaplain's clerk. And he says, "Louis, I can sign you up for Sweat Lodge, man. We have Sweat Lodge every Saturday." And I said, "That would be great." And so he signed me up for Sweat Lodge. And then he says, "We have a writing class here, and that's on Saturday afternoon. You do the Sweat Lodge in the morning, you could do the writing class in the afternoon." And I said, "Sure, that would be wonderful." So then I get called into the chaplain's office, and he tells me he'll be giving me a job in 2 weeks. And this guard, JC, takes me over to the music room, and they tell me as soon as I get a room, they're going to give me a guitar and a piano. And I go back to the tent area, and I'm just ecstatic because that first morning, I'd only been there a few hours, the night I slept there, and I woke up that morning. But all of these things are developing for me. But I noticed there's a meeting of elders in the yard when I get back. And they called me over, and I literally walked over, and there's a black and an Aryan and a Mexican and the Asian, and the Mexican Americans and the Mexican nationals have their own representatives. And there was a native elder, and they called me over, and I go over and I said, "Hey, I come in peace." And later on I laughed. I thought, wow, they must have thought that was really a funny thing to say. But I was really serious. I went up there. They were standing there. They called me, and I said, "I come in peace." And they said, "Look, man, you sat at the wrong table this morning when you ate breakfast." And I sat at a table by myself, but in the prison system, everything is segregated, and you have to follow rules, and you follow more so the gang leaders than the prison guards. I mean, the gangs really they control the world inside prison yards. So the elders are there of all these races, and they say, you know, what are you? You got to decide what, you know. They said, what are you? And I said, look, I signed up for Sweat Lodge, so I mean, I'm going to practice my native culture. And so they were all fine with that. But it's a story that from little childhood experiences of not knowing what to say when people ask me my race to much later on in life being in a situation where how I thought of myself wouldn't necessarily be the same way that other people thought of me. But like when I was in New Orleans, I was extradited out to Arizona, and they called me Indian in the facility in New Orleans. But you know, I'm other. I'm again. I have to go back to now that I'm almost grown up. I can. When I say, if I say I'm a man of the universe, I can say it with more heart and soul now, and not. Although as a child, I said that seriously to people. I just felt that was the answer for me. So yeah, the Cherokee, Choctaw, Blackfoot, French Creole, Gumbo Yaya guy. They say 7 flags have flown over New Orleans. The Native American, the American, the German, the English, the Irish, the French, and the Spanish. And then after Katrina, you could say 8 flags have flown over New Orleans. And imagine all those cultures around the fire, right? And there's a big pot of food being made, and each culture puts in a spice or some ingredient into the soup, and that's where you get gumbo. But the real interesting gumbo that came out of the melting pot of New Orleans culture is that they had African rhythms and European melodies, and that created America's first art form, jazz. So this melting pot of cultures, which I come from, and the hybrid, you know, some people call you different names. I was talking to a friend the other day about the conflict between urban and reservation Indians and urban Indians, but I have walked in my own inner sense of who I am, not really concerned with any kind of racial identity.
Cool. I mean, I think that's kind of a good thing. Maybe even when you were younger, like that childlike soul, I feel like it's very, very pure. And even though maybe we don't have like the confidence from the activity per se behind it, really in a certain way, we really do have that true soul behind it at that point in time. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you know, my mother and my father were raised to. I mean, my father was actually in the Buffalo Soldiers. When he joined the military in 1943, he was in a cavalry unit, and those units were segregated. But a lot of the men in those units they looked like they could be from Trinidad or Jamaica Island. They were in New Orleans, we say cafe au lait. I don't know if you know about the brown paper bag test.
If you're
lighter than the brown paper bag, the sandwich bag, if you're darker, my name is Louis Very Blanche, and in New Orleans, the high yellows, as they would call us, we could passe blanc. So we could maybe, cross the line. I read Light in August by William Faulkner, and there was a character in that story called Joe Christmas. And he was a multiracial person that could go on both sides of the tracks. And he did that throughout the story, and he was befriended on both sides of the tracks, but he had his soul was like wrestling with his sense of self. But I feel blessed that since I've had to wrestle with any sense of self, because I have had a very expanded sense of self most of my life. But you know, the culture in New Orleans being so it's diverse. Some people said way back in the day that going to New Orleans was like going to another planet. because the Cherokee, we had a newspaper. We had like a written language, and a lot of they say that the basic constitution, the design of our country, was modeled after Cherokee organizational templates. But the template in New Orleans is there's such a variety of cultures creating their own expression. The voodoo, you've got people that created out of the mixture of being torn from West Africa or wherever, out of the tribal lands, and the people, the Indians that lived in the bayou, and the freed slaves that got together, created people like myself, you could say. Is
that a computer case fan?
I'm not sure what that is.
Like it's too long. It's too long to be a cell phone vibration.
Sorry for the sound technical difficulties. The aliens are attacking Louis currently from his computer.
Happens sometimes. That sounds like a case fan to me. I don't know what else would be causing
that. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here in your cyberspace.
Well, we do appreciate you being here. I'm going to go ahead and pull you off so that you can get that sorted, because the sound is very strong. I'm not hearing you.
Are you hearing me?
Oh, yeah, I am hearing you, but you're not hearing us. So I'm going to message you offline, and I'm sorry about the sounds, everybody. That was intense. Aaron, were you ready for that kind of intensity at the end of that story? I mean, It went from one level and then it was up here, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's Louis. Louis very, very magical. I've had some longer conversations with him. He's wonderful in the way he carries just energy and expression and story and all of that. And I was really excited before that. I swear that's got to be a PC case fan or something. I don't know, or a fan like that's sitting there or something. Started like getting that bicycle card fucking sound, right? Brrr, whatever, or just rattling.
Yeah, like a bearing went out on a fan inside of a computer. Is kind of what it sounded like to me.
So like, or you get those,
we'll definitely get Louis back, get his stuff figured out. Hopefully, I sensed some lighting issues and some sound issues that we could approach.
And he sounds
like a super cool dude, man. Like having all those different racial backgrounds and still continuing to choose to like tap into those and stuff. That's just gotta lead to such a diverse lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like I'm a white dude now. I don't really even know what that means in certain ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's interesting. So I wonder if he's going to come back on, or before that happened, I wanted to ask him more about the languages. But
Sasha's comment, she was like, so how about them boats?
Oh yeah, from before.
Bodie McBoatface. Yeah, Bodie McBoatface.
Well done.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, them boats. Yeah. How about them boats?
Them boats gonna walk all over you. What's that go? Them boots gonna walk all over you. Some shit.
Yeah, Arya said his energy is too much. It's because he's got that New Orleans energy in him. He's just like, is voodoo running through his veins, or that yaya? I don't even know what that is. You know, like I've studied a lot of stuff and I don't even know what that is. So, I might be in trouble.
Yeah. So imagine him being able to go on those different expressions, and that's just one of like many that he goes into in ways of communicating on different subjects. He's got some really good material about the 9. I've got it written down. It was just a while ago. The 9 points of consciousness or expression, or kind of like your chart, similar, but like just 9 things. Remember the thing you showed the other night of your breakdown of that whole chart for consciousness or expression?
Yeah.
So
it's similar to that.
Yeah, but it's like just 9 things, and it breaks down to the golden ratio stuff. And yeah, he's got all this really fascinating, amazing stuff that's very traditional and cultural and just beautiful. And I mean, he's consistently sends me things. He's writing on a regular dailies, these oracles. There's things as he sings to creation or songs or expressions, you know. So he's a wonderful human being. I gotta hug him. I gotta hug his skin suit. We're in Tennessee, man. Gotta actually meet him. He's wonderful.
So, oh, cool. Was he the one that when you were only able to stop by with him for a very short period of time?
That's the one.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. He definitely. He looks like. I mean, he looks like he has a big heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really does. Yeah, we were crying. We were hugging. It was very, very happy, very heartful hug. It was great. Yeah,
Cool. Well, I'm excited to have him on here more, and I like the music that he was making. I really like. I mean, having that jazz fusion in there is really cool to me personally. Being like, well, I guess music appreciator, I guess you just call it. But like,
Yeah.
I just like noises, and jazz is like one of the most like free spaces for like noises. But there is always like there's reason behind it, right? Like if you just make noises, it's no good. But there's so much freedom in the jazz space. It's just like it's really cool. So
Yeah.
and any of these fusion type things, because that's like really what unity is about in the long run, right? Like you're trying to create a fusion of everything.
Yeah, totally.
So
Or cohesion, fusion.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, both.
That actually, quick plugs for stuff on the channel. Apparently, it looks like we're going to be doing some type of starseed engagement with the Lyran system here soon, led by a secret guest community member at this point in time. I'm not going to reveal them yet. So you'll just have to find out who's going to be our guide to go to Lyra. And
I don't know.
I'm sure it will be very fun and enjoyable. Lyrans are very much so about the heart and coherence and heart space, and they'll be able to tell you even more about it. And when we're actually doing that, we'll talk about that. And then also I had another good idea, and another secret community member will be running this one as well, which is that so when I was in the jungle, we did like, and people have heard of this other places, but this is where I found out about it. We did chakra dancing, and I dance a lot myself, but I had never really called it like chakra dancing, right? But having this actual specific focus on activation or balance of chakras through some type of basically expressive dance is a really good activity. And we're going to have somebody host a chakra dancing session where they will basically, you know, we'll have music, we'll have an instructor that's just kind of guiding you through the process and basically being there with you. And we can use dancing to basically create an expression of our chakras and ourself. And really, I have found that dancing is a great thing for building like confidence in the physical body, grounding things into the physical body. Like, it's very much so important as we do like the multidimensionality thing, that we continue to manage all of the dimensions that we have. And dancing is a really good way to interface with your own personal human body and really come to appreciate it and the way that it can move. And me personally, like, if you guys like geometry, there's all kinds of geometry inside of dancing that you can really like learn from the geometry by interacting with it and seeing how your body engages with it and how different types of movements make you feel and things. So both of these things will be coming up in the near future. I apparently have more things to plan now, which is good. We want lots of things to plan. So excited about those things because I want to do both of those things as well. So
yeah, well said. And speaking of jazz and all that dynamic, there's a whole jazz dynamic going on here. But then Arya said experimental and discordant jazz. And I know you like jazz. What do you know about that?
Well, I mean, the whole idea of discord is that it's a standout thing that is not in harmony, right? And that's kind of what I was talking about with when I brought up jazz a couple episodes back, or whenever the hell that was, that there's the beauty of the note that's not in line with everything else because of kind of the capacity that it stands out, but also that it gives you the difference between all the other stuff that is in such a nice cohesion. But it's really, in a lot of ways, like jazz is always kind of about that discordance when it's really done well. In my personal opinion, you can have your more like everything sits into the composition really good, types of jazz if you really want to, but at the heart of jazz is that there's really like some soul in there, and there's some rule breaking. Like jazz, it comes out of New Orleans. New Orleans is a whole lot of people just like mixing pot, and because of that, they're really like embracing themselves and things like this. Arya can definitely speak to this. She's all about New Orleans as well. Louis can probably speak to this. Both of them can speak to it better than me. I only know about it through studying basically jazz, right? Like that's the only reason I know. But because of that, very much so, there was like this this idea of rule breaking, right, or being a little bit revolutionary, and that's kind of like experimental in any kind of music is about generally just experimenting with different ways of making music. And so jazz in a certain way was always kind of about that. You have ideas of like the things like the washboard that someone, or like playing the spoons or something like that. In many ways, these got incorporated into jazz in early days, but obviously two spoons isn't actually a musical instrument, but used right, it's fucking super cool musical instrument, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the heart of experimental. I mean, really, like, is just using different things to make that style of music. But jazz allows even more room for that, because it doesn't actually say like, well, there's a rule that you can't be discordant. You know what I mean? So in a certain way, like technically you could, you could include a lawnmower engine in jazz if you wanted to, and technically it's not breaking the rules, because kind of jazz doesn't have them. You know what I mean? Jazz is music because it provides a baseline cohesive rhythm, but jazz is jazz because it also breaks the rules of all that rhythm at the same time. So you know what I mean?
Sorry,
so very interesting
also
thing.
said music is soul.
Exactly. I personally believe that entirely. Like I think sound is, well, I think the whole next revolution of spirituality, everybody does a light worker, all about the light thing right now. The next revolution of spirituality, everybody's going to be like, oh my gosh, but the sound. And I have a whole bunch of reasons why I think that, but I really do think that music is a better expression. It's a really, like, man, when you make music will cause you to encounter yourself on so many levels. Like, here's a perfect example. I've done a ton of work on myself. I am really good at writing rhymes, and I've spent probably 15,000 hours freestyle rapping. There's not a chance I'm going to do it on live stream right now, because it's still causing me to encounter myself. Like, I'm still fucking terrified of doing that in front of other people. I know I'm really good at it, and I'm still like, oh my gosh. You know what I mean? So, like, I still do like that format of music.
Why do you think that is, though? If like you're good at it, where do you think the rub is? Like,
that's the beauty of music, my friend. You know what I mean? Is that it's like it causes you to rub even though you're unconscious entirely of what really the rub is. But through causing the friction, you come to feel the fiber. You know what I mean? And once you feel it, you do, and realize like I do press towards this. It's just like it's really actually a really big block for me. And so I could either smash through it with a wrecking ball, which is a thing that I could do, or I can just basically play with it. And I've always kept music for me very playful, and it's just like I do it completely because it's for fun. So like the wrecking ball technique I don't really use with the music, and I kind of like the fact that I can, like, at some point in time I will have aligned myself in other ways that it felt really good. Every time I feel a progression in myself, I'm a little bit closer to expressing myself musically freely. So in a certain way, I think I honestly think in a certain way, I'm like kind of keeping it for myself as like a carrot on a stick. You know what I mean? That when I sculpt myself enough, I'll be able to just like be totally musically expressive. You know what I mean?
Sounds like you built a functional framework to be comfortable with the level that you're at, because you're still getting tons of internal benefit for it. So you're fine. It's cool.
Yeah. So, there was a quick thing about like rules and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, like, music is a lot of times like very structured. Like the difference between music and a bunch of noise is that it's going to a time signature, and if you break that entirely, it's literally the line between music and cacophony, and so there needs to be some guideline to it of some kind. And like this is I literally hadn't even read this yet, but she's like, theories are more like guidelines though, and it's really very, very true. So I appreciate this conversation very much. So Aria wants to hear me freestyle, and she will beatbox for me.
Nice. All right, if you come on the show, let's make him do it. You just start beatboxing.
Yeah, Jen is one of the few people on the planet who has heard me freestyle, actually. So this is one subjective opinion of
Don't
Zach's
worry,
ability.
I'll give you another one once I get down there.
The way that I engage it right now best is actually by reading poetry that I wrote to things. I could see if my phone will stay on long enough. There was I have to figure out when I wrote this thing.
Cool.
When was that? Was that December? Nope. Ain't that one. Here's a thing called, nope, that's not the right one either. I write a lot of things in notes, so this will take just a second here. Well, hopefully just a second. Okay, well, I'll read this one. I read some poem on here before, and I don't think it was this one, but this is the one that I found. So, this actually this was written to someone in specific, so it actually has some like a lot of the imagery was very specific to what we were doing. It's good anyways. So here we go. The silence, I hate it. The dreams conjugated, exposing the greatest things in me and you. Look at the view. Our eye cast on a beach, black as the sand with stones underneath. Bearing the symbols of alchemical process, this is a reality I could surely get lost in. And my phone screen turned off. So that's how much we get to hear of it. Maybe. Nope. Here we go.
Yeah,
Here we go. We got more. All right. Surely a godsend, the person that's placed in this space here with me. I see you stand adjacent, looking complacent, perhaps solemn or leery, yet surrounded by my love. I can see that quite clearly. Assaulted by lessons, I shine bioluminescent, the moon in my eye a true waxing crescent. With a smile so pleasant, how much I do miss it. To spend time with you, one must surely be gifted. My spirit's lifted when I think of your voice, to love you not logic, but simply a choice. I see through your struggles so deep in the abzu, I wish I could be there to reach out and grab you, or perhaps drag you off into the sunset. You may be gone now, but my dreams, they are not done yet.
Is that part of it? Is that the one you read before? Was there more to it, or was the whole thing?
That's the whole thing.
Okay, maybe it was a similar one, but yeah, that's so good, Zach. I love the way you write. That's awesome.
So I have lots and lots of these on here. I could see if another one I can actually find one.
Yeah, do it, please. I'm sure everybody. I haven't looked at the chat yet because I was just closing my eyes and super into it. But
this one has interesting stuff in it.
Yeah, do it.
Oh my gosh, my phone. Let me try and like copy paste and send this somewhere else so that my phone doesn't screw me up in the middle of it because it's even longer.
Sasha said bars, bro. So I'm a poet as well. Fucking dope. I know, Sash. You're supposed to come on and talk about void space and your poetry and whatever. So purty. Love it so much, Zach. TY.
Oh my god, my phone, man.
Alright, you look for that real quick. I'm gonna grab something to drink.
I have it. I'm just trying to send it to somewhere so that I can like not have my phone turn off in the middle of it. Alright. Copy pasted over to Aaron. So now I can read it. Maybe. Impromptu stuff, so not set up well for this at all. Okay, so this one is I don't know. It's definitely, well, you'll hear it. All right, here we go. My brilliant sorceress, my bright shooting star, I hope my light reaches wherever you are. Sent from above where the void finds its fixing, guided by love our spirits intermixing, twisting and turning, sometimes writhing or burning, through trials we stand to fulfill our soul's yearning. To recognize what we're learning and gather our earnings, my heart filled with yearning for connection and love. To see what it means to be a true friend, I may not be yet, but I will be the best in the end. So do not pretend like our paths have diverged, for this is simply more facets of the jeweled web that we merge. So let it be heard. My voice reverberates across the void, the spell that I cast, the web I deploy. I call in the spider, I call in the snake, I call in the wolves, whatever it takes. I've called and I've cold all of the dark corners, I've removed all the parasites and befriended the foreigners. So now we have three complemented by four, so I call on the L's and the star for one more. Perfectly pressured, the five is imploding, emerging to six, dimensionality growing. By calling the coven, I step into the seven, the crucible ready, the next step to leaden. The prime of materia placed in the bowl, next mercury, sulfur, and salt make it whole. Motion created, the concoction has aided, progression from angles, now we are aided. Properly weighted, balanced in opposites, we align with the nine and spin to the positive. Up and right we ascend again and again, outlasting and passing, beginnings and ends. Alchemical theater. Do, do. Do I ever do collabs, man? No, I write rhymes basically by myself, and that's about as far as it goes because they're basically all emotional expressions. Like this stuff, when I wrote this stuff, there was no way it was ever getting read on a recorded live stream. Like that was the opposite of what was happening with it. So, yeah. I don't know. It's probably good that I do it. I said do. Um,
It is good that you do it, Zach. It's good for you and it's good for other people to hear. It's beautiful shit, man.
Oh, this one I will read because since I already read that one. If we're gonna talk about alchemical theater, then we got to give a big shout out to my man Edward de Vere. You might know him as a man named William Shakespeare. So this was I have to copy it over again. I have an incredible love for William Shakespeare or whoever that was. I was introduced to Shakespeare really young. My mom was a huge lover of Shakespeare, and one of the first books that I was like read to for fun was actually this huge. It's a huge book, like it's like this big, right? That's literally it's a gold leafed book of every single Shakespeare play and all of his sonnets, and so my mom just like loved this, and so it was a big thing to me. And this poem right here, well, definitely draws on that. If you know Shakespeare at all, you'll pretty much know that immediately because I literally like use some of his words.
You have Shakespeare fans. Well, it makes sense you have Shakespeare fans because 87% of our viewership is women, I believe.
Right. Yeah. So
at this point,
let's see. Okay.
I think Shakespeare is great. I just never dove into it. Sounds awesome. I'm stoked that you're super into it.
It's really, really, really amazing. Like if you like ciphering and puzzles and shit like that, there is so much puzzles inside of it. I mean, like literally, like all these crazy mathematical ciphers and stuff. It's really nuts. So, okay. Well, I'm ready to read this now. So none of these have titles. I don't title things. I'm bad at titles. Shake those spears.
Women does not equal Shakespeare. Yeah, well, it's a pretty fitting stereotype for a lot of dynamics. So
that's
roll.
what someone who doesn't know Shakespeare says, because he knows like Romeo and Juliet, and he's like, oh yeah, women love Romeo and Juliet.
No, like no, I mean I understand the language and the beauty of the language, and that tends to be something the right-brained, predominant women are more open to than guys are as a generality. But there are plenty of thespians, right, that are into it just fine, no matter what sex they are. So that's fuck yeah, man. I'm into all that shit. It's great.
Thespians. I always really liked that word. It's kind of ridiculous.
I know, me too. So yeah, do your thing. Were you gonna read something, right?
I had to clear my throat real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Here is one humble poet's attempt to do the master justice. To die, to sleep perchance to dream. When balancing these scales, the truest beam begins to lean. Happiness turns to screams. Purification starts to teem. Written in the stars and read within the cards by magi of a high esteem, of the highest team, a team that sees a dream, a seam that starts to gleam from the purity that lies beneath. To whom do I bequeath all of the things I love before this mortal coil twists in me and gives me quite the shove? The comfort of a glove, covering the hand in cold. Sometimes for just a couple silver, your best friend will sell your soul. Written in the scrolls, the history of the records, the name appears inked and clear right next to the defectors, right next to the infected, a punishment selected, a glimpse of light that shines so bright, even the bravest have defected. So what are we now left with? A spiritual contraceptive? Perhaps something more selective? A scalpel and a looking glass in the hands of an astute detective. What lies to be erected, by falling down we see our up, but if we do not see our downs, how do we know to trust? The plasma starts to bust, exploding far from a binary star that wobbled into dust, per se wobbled into lust, certainly wobbled out of trust. Like the oxygen upon the metal, my love begins to rust. Why can't we just be vulnerable, so open and so honorable? The crafting of a cape without mistake to render its embrace something that is dawnable, something to wrap yourself inside. The suffocating strangeness makes my will come to divide. A spirit multiplied, analyzed by where it's not. A string pulled tight amidst a fight, leaving nothing taut. What have I ever learned? Why must I live life spurned? Every day I try to play, but the uru it still burns. A cauldron's continued churn. Mixing and making and fixing and breaking, the snakes run amok, giving and taking. And here I sit still waiting, opened up to the true love, but I cannot seem to find it, and the simpleton seems to see it in a hug. Aye, that, my friends, is the rub.
Wow, that totally answered my question too. Like perfect. I was asking you earlier, where's the rub? Like that's insanely.
That I spend my entire life looking for love, and some people find it without ever looking for a moment.
Right.
And that's why they find it, because they're not searching.
Right. Oh,
so
amazing when that happens. Beautifully written, Zach. Incredibly well done.
Thanks. Thank you, jungle plants and people who have helped me in the jungle that we happen to be running fundraisers for right now. You never would have heard those poems if it wasn't for Dio DeMero Minas and the Shipboat people, because these people taught me how to rhyme. They opened my heart, and I literally did not rhyme until a voice came inside of my mind and said, I've ridden on a serpent through an endless sea of thought. I traveled here to find out who I am and realized all that matters is who I'm not. And I started looking in all the places that I wasn't and found that I'm something beyond what I previously doesn't be. And I came into something more, and I started exploring myself, and I see inside that, really, honestly, only my perception is the door. and the gold is always in store, and I've always known the score. However, sometimes we get confused, and that's the reason why we lose.
Well done. Again.
You're right. I should just talk in rhyme from now on, probably. It'd be very interesting. Like I don't know. I fall into a space when I rhyme, really.
Yeah,
So.
no doubt, man. It's the so how, what focus level state would you call that, or is it a different kind of space?
When there's a lot of different ones, really. It's like different from like performing than it is from like sitting and actually writing a written piece. And then depending on the way that you're writing the piece, if you're just like kind of like something that you're letting flow, or it's something that you're trying to write in some kind of specific meter or shape or something like that,
Yeah.
it changes, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like the freestyle flow, like if every other tool that I have ends up not working and I lose my balance, I can go get in a car, turn on an instrumental and freestyle, and I'm fine in 5 seconds. I don't remember anything that's going on. Like I just, so
Yeah.
it's really an amazing tool. I do in fact believe that I am the direct reincarnation of Edward de Vere, or whoever was actually Shakespeare, which I believe was Edward de Vere, but might have actually been a collaborative creation of Edward Kelly and John Dee, as they tried to bring an eschaton into being through art, through a completely fake third person. So I'm not entirely sure on that, but that's another theory there.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I definitely follow in the footsteps of these 3 men, or whatever their story is. So if I was not a reincarnation of them, I have reincarnated myself into them by following their path of basically alchemy, searching for spirit, searching for knowledge, understanding of basically the function of reality, which is what they all explored. And they all just brought it forth in different ways. Really, like Shakespeare was just the lover of the group. He's the one that understood coherence through the concept of love. Dee was basically this logical center, and Edward Kelly was, a bit of a madman, So, yeah. It's really the stuff that's inside some of those plays. You can learn just as much from Shakespeare's plays, if not more, than you can learn from any other collection of spiritual texts. I'll stand by that 100%. The issue will be your own ability to pick apart the illusions, because your limited knowledge will be your bondage inside of that. Almost everything inside of these things means about like 7 different dimensions of stuff, and the first time that you read it, it might seem like this story on the front end, but the more that you understand a really wide set of symbol, alchemical theater is all about saying something that you're not supposed to say, but you guise it in so many symbols and ciphers that no one knew you said it. Is kind of the entire point. And oftentimes to do this, even things are like purposely out of place, like, or in purposely wrong orders, but they seem like they work in the order that they are in, so no one ever questions their order. Right? So
like layering through the codes of the text and stuff, and like we're talking about that book, like 1881, but really thinking whatever the alchemical dynamic is there for the underlying messages. And the one George Carver one from 1920, we're reading the alchemical truth behind the text, and Joseph and the Mary conceiving the seed and the colostrum, and it goes down to like that whole dynamic, a very metaphysical, esoteric overlay that is hidden in the code of the text if you perceive those symbol sets correctly, those layers correctly. Weave those threads.
Bring up a poem here if I can find it kind of quickly. That's actually.
Hold on. Sasha said, "I think Edgar Allan Poe is my ex-husband." That's funny. Then she said that Arya said at Sasha, "Oh damn, girl, talk about melodrama."
Yeah, no doubt.
Dude, we have the best chat ever.
So this poem right here is very interesting connection. Edward Kelly is widely considered to basically just be like a con man, right? But if you're inside of the concepts of, well, esoteric alchemy, you recognize that this was probably a ruse. Okay, like he probably wasn't a con man at all. People just didn't believe certain things that he had. But then he also happens to have a poem that's called Concerning the Philosopher's Stone, and it's titled Written to My Especially Good Friend G.S. Gent, right? And so William Shakespeare, anywhere outside of the UK, would have been known as Guy LeMay Shakespeare. So he would have had his initials would have been GS. And being as this is kind of like a treatise on alchemical theater and outlines like the concepts for that, there is a certain reason to believe that while perhaps not completely sculpted by, there was at least some sculpting to Shakespeare's writing style and what he was trying to get through to it by none other than Edward Kelly. And a lot of time people, because of kind of like the history of Edward Kelly as it is sold, they don't really believe that there's any way that he would have been capable of doing that. But this is a poem that he wrote that I think you'll see quite easily he could have done that. And it's actually very interesting. There's all kinds of ciphers inside of this in the sense of how many paragraphs they are, what you do with the lines. I'm going to read it the way that it is written on paper, but I think it's also very interesting to read it out of order as well, which I could probably be convinced to do. So nevertheless, the poem goes like this. The heavenly cope hath in him nature's sower, too hidden, but the rest to sight appear, wherein the sperms of all the bodies lower most secret are, yet spring forth once a year. And as the earth with water authors air, so of his part is Drine's end of care. No flood so great as that which floweth still, nothing more fixed than earth digested thrice. No wind so fresh as when it serveth will, no profit more than keep in and be wise. No better hap than dry up air to dust, for then thou mayest leave leave of and sleep thy lust. Yet will I warn thee, lest thou chance to fail, sublime thine earth with stinking water erst, then in a place where Phoebus' oncely tale is seen art midday, see thou mingle best. This water est is actually how that's supposed to go, but like there's weird silent letters inside of Old English. My bad. Yeah. For nothing shineth that doth want his light, nor doubleth beams until it first be bright. Let no man lead unless he know the way, that wise men teach, or a drop leadeth in, whereof the first is large and easiest prey, the other hard and mean but to begin. For surely these and no one more is found, wherein Apollo will his harp strings sound. Examples lean of God that plast the skies, reflecting virtues from into every point, in which the mover wherein all things lies, doth hold the virtues all of every joint. And therefore essence sift may well be said, conceding all and yet himself a maid. Remember also how the gods began, and by descent who was to each the sire. Then learnt their lives and kingdoms if you can, their manners eke, with all their whole attire, which if thou do and know to what effect, the learned sophists will thee not reject. If this my doctrine bend not with thy brain, then say I nothing, though I said too much. Of truth 'tis good will moved me not gain, to write these lines, yet write I not to such as catch it crabs when better fruits appear, and want to choose at fittest time of year. Thou mayest, my friend, say, what is this for lore? I answer, such as ancient physic taught. And though thou read 1,000 books before, yet in respect of this they teach thee not. Thou mayest likewise be blind and call me fool, yet shall these rules forever praise their school. So if this my doctrine, like it's weird. Okay, so the way that I think you should read this is that you make you make it into doublets that rhyme, right? So you read basically the first line and then the third line and then the
Break it
second
down.
line and then the fourth line and then you read the fifth and the sixth line.
So redo
Okay.
the first six lines like that.
Okay, so we'll do the entire poem read now out of order, and you'll hear how interestingly it almost actually sounds like it makes more sense. And take into account that in here in the sixth, I think it's the sixth stanza, he says, if this my doctrine bend not with thy brain. So he's clearly alluding to right here that if this poem isn't twisted with your brain, then say I nothing, though I have actually said too much.
Totally.
You know, so he's telling you to move it around. Okay.
He's telling you the code to it. Yeah, totally, man. Fuck yeah, keep going.
So I think the code is actually that our understanding of the alchemical process is out of order, and he's alluding to it in this poem. But nevertheless, and it actually does in many ways make sense that if you take the standard 7-step alchemical process, where the 7th step is actually the coagulation, and in a certain way is not a step of the process, but rather the finished thing, right? So the other 6 would be the steps. If you take that process out of order and instead you do like the third thing second and the second thing third, or however it ends up going, right? You take it the same order as this, it actually ends up making more sense, because in the process that we're sold, we're told that you're supposed to separate before you ferment. And actually, it doesn't make any sense. You should ferment things so that all the impurities rise to the top and then separate the impurities off. Then distill what is left and create your coagulant. So it seems like it is actually out of order. So nevertheless, now to read this in the wrong order.
So we got some requests here. So one.
Okay.
Sasha said, I think like. Sasha said, I think, or so. Let's see. Hold on. I'm going.
I'm going to interpretive vogue to the poems.
Okay, hold on. She's talking about her inner drag queen coming out earlier. Like, the chat's awesome. Okay, but Willow says, yes, put the poems on screen or post a link in the chat. Yeah, you got to put that shit up there too, Zach, so people can follow along. But I know you're reading it out of order now, so it might be a little confusing. But
yeah, so here is a link to a website that provides you with the poem. And in addition, I will bring the poem onto the screen. It's too big for just one screen, but I think it's this one. What happens if I do this? So yeah, we can get it in here and we can take a look at it. So what we did do is we read it in the normal order, just top to bottom, right?
And now she's got her alchemical script that she can invoke to and come up with the
Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna read this line, and then this line, and then we're gonna read this line, and then we're gonna read this line. And then we're going to read these last 2 lines. We're not going to move them around, because you notice how the poem is written. They're already impacted. They've already been impacted. Okay? So we don't need to move these 2, is what my guess is with this. So nevertheless, reading it in the wrong order. The heavenly cope hath in him nature's sower, wherein the sperms of all the bodies lower. 2 hidden, but the rest to sight appear, most secret are, yet spring forth once a year. And as the earth with water authors air, so of his part is Drine's end of care. No flood so great as that which floweth still, no wind so fresh as when it serveth will. Nothing more fixed than earth digested thrice, no profit more than keepin and be wise. No better hap than dry up air to dust, for then thou mayest leave of and sleep thy lust. Yet will I warn thee, lest thou chance to fail, than in a place where Phoebus only tail. Sublime thine earth with stinking water est, is seen art midday, see thou mingle best. For nothing shineth that doth want his light, nor doubleth beams unless it first be bright. Let no man lead unless he know the way, whereof the first is large and easiest prey. That wise men teach, or a drop leadeth in, the other hard and mean but to begin. For surely these and no one more is found, wherein Apollo will his harp strings sound. Example learn of God that placed the skies, in which the mover wherein all things lies. Reflecting virtues from and to every point, doth hold the virtues all of every joint, and therefore essence sift may well be said, containing all and yet himself a maid. Remember also how the gods began, then learnt their lives and kingdoms if you can, and by descent who was to each the sire, their manners eke with all their whole attire, which if thou do and know to what effect, the learned sophits will thee not reject. If this my doctrine bend not with thy brain, of truth 'tis goodwill moved me, not gain. Then say I nothing, though I said too much. To write these lines, yet write I not to such as catch it crabs when better fruits appear, and want to choose at fittest time of year. Thou mayest, my friend, say, what is this for lore? And though thou read 1,000 books before, I answer, such as ancient physic taught, yet in respect of this they teach thee not. Thou mayest likewise be blind and call me fool, yet shall these rules forever praise their school. Recognize the only one that doesn't fit really well with that is the one where he gives the code. So it doesn't fit really good with that. And when you get back here, you realize that in this stanza, he uses at the end of this line the word thrice, meaning three. And when you displace it, it ends up being the third line.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Makes sense.
Which leads you to believe that maybe this is the correct displacement. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, that shit's all over the place, man. That's awesome that you've done that. I've seen that in other texts too, and found some awesome different skip codes and things. Sasha says only a poet can point that out.
Yeah.
Well done.
Okay, and I mean, there's a bunch more to this thing too. I mean, because there's just alchemical metaphor basically all over the thing.
Zach, you have as much space as you want to dive into this as much as you want. I think everyone's enjoying it as much as I am.
Yeah, I mean, like you can just take it apart line by line, and that's just fun in and of itself, and the best place to start, right? So, because a lot of these words, like we don't use these words now so much. The heavenly cope hath in him nature's sower. So, what is the heavenly cope? Like we could say like space, but when I interpret this, I really think like the void, right? Yeah. So it's the place of infinite potential, and inside of that is functionally the creator, right? So that is nature's sower. He's the one who built nature, but it alludes that man is also that thing by saying wherein the sperms of all the bodies lower, right? So it's showing this multidimensionality connection of the heavenly cope has inside of it nature's sower, which would be God, but wherein the sperms of all the bodies lower reside. So saying that you are the offspring of nature's sower, who is functionally the sole resident of the heavenly cope, right?
Yeah.
So, two hidden, but the rest to sight appear. I think this is a really interesting allusion, very tongue-in-cheek by Edward Kelly. When he says two hidden here, I'm pretty sure he means Edward Kelly and John Dee. And no one knows the work that they're doing, but everybody else that they're working with, which is basically all of the great poets of the Elizabethan era and all the people that were engaged in, well, what you would understand as like spy work, right? Like they were spying on different courts. They were all known, right? So this kind of speaks to that. I think it speaks to more than this as well, but like probably this line, like Lord knows how much this actually speaks to. When a guy's writing like this and he specifically says the word hidden inside of something, alarm bells ring everywhere, and you should probably leave yourself at a point where you're like, okay, I'm never actually going to understand this line. I need to keep looking for things that it could mean, right? Yeah. The one that I've gotten to that I think is the most interesting is I think he was actually, because, okay, so if you know poetry of this time, there was a whole lot of this, and there's a name for it that I really ought to know the name of it. There was a whole lot of this thing going on where it was like a hiding in plain sight thing, right?
Yeah.
Like this was a standard thing that was done with certain kinds of poetry, where you would take things that weren't supposed to be told, secrets, and you would tell them in public, but you would do so in a way that you didn't actually tell the secret, but told some other type of tale. All of Shakespeare's sonnets are basically this. A sonnet was generally this, in fact. So, nevertheless, I think this is calling on kind of the idea of a sonnet, in the sense that he's outing himself, and you could say too hidden. You could say that it's with G.S. Gent. So Edward Kelly and whoever G.S. Gent, presumably Shakespeare, they are hidden, but the rest of the authors to sight appear, right? Altogether possible. Could be an allusion to John Dee and him, but all of the other things were seen. There's definitely a whole lot of references as we get farther down here, where he starts talking about the use of angles, that was through basically saying things like joints and stuff like this, where it's really alluding. I mean, like if I look at my arm, you know, like my angles, right? Like all joints create angles, you know what I mean? So nevertheless, this might be alluding to the work with John Dee and himself with basically the Enochian languages and all of the Enochian spirit stuff. Most secret are, yet spring forth once a year. So that most secrets are hidden. However, with the nature of secrets, they do occasionally get told. You know? Because true secrets are things that can't be told. But what most secrets are in real life, especially in this day and age, they do spring forth consistently. There's probably, you could look at the illusion that there were like kind of, and what you would understand as annuals, right? Like they would be an annual collection of poems and stuff that were written in the last year. And oftentimes those big books of poems would include things like this. So maybe this is referring to the idea that oftentimes once a year there would be some kind of publishing thing that put together a book that was, you know, had a lot of these illusion-based styles of poetry. But, you know, every once a year, if I knew more about that, if he capitalizes spring here. We have to look also into this if we want it, like another layer of cipher. Cope is capitalized for no reason. Nature's is capitalized for no reason. These ones are at the beginning of the line, so maybe this is always okay, right? But these ones in the middle of the line, like sperms, bodies, spring, earth, water, authors, drines, all of these are basic, they're capitalized for no reason. If you want to look at ciphers like this, you generally need to take all of these letters out, figure out something like, he says inside of here once a year. He says right here like thrice. He says two right here. There's an allusion to a bunch of numbers. There's probably a mathematical equation inside of here, the answer to which would tell you what the cipher of all of these capitalized letters, if you put them out into a matrix like this, or like the standard Enochian matrices, or perhaps maybe like you go crazy with these guys. They like to use like the Sigil de Amet, or otherwise known as the Seal of Truth by John Dee, as basically like a cryptic cipher, and you would normally use it in a specific setting, but it also had delineations of lines, and if this came down to a single number, you would potentially be able to delineate that line off, see some kind of code actually inside of here, and then draw a bunch of connections through the Sigil of Truth if you really want to get into ciphering this stuff. But you got to look into the fact that some of these words are capitalized for no fucking reason, and spring is one of those. And as the earth with water, authors air. So authors are, right? We can say are, but it's rhyming with care. So if you were to say it out loud, you'd have to say it the other way. So, and as the earth with water. Well, what does the earth with water do? You know what I mean? And what does that really mean? This, if you want to get crazy, it's altogether possible. And Angela asked me about the Glastonbury thing. The Glastonbury thing could be utilized as some type of overlay cipher, and as the earth with water could be insinuating some type of pointing that's giving you a northeast vector, because the western watchtower is water and the northern watchtower is earth. So, and as the earth with water would tell you northeast is where the authors are. right?
Yeah.
So this could be some kind of pointing to that. So of his
Totally.
part, Drine's end of care. I do not even remember what that word means. I looked it up once. I get answers for drones. No, I didn't mean drones. I meant Drines. Well, it was a surname. Also, where did I look this? I found this somewhere. Huh. Where did I look this up before? Oxford Dictionary? Should have this.
Sounds super legit. And like really, like that's like it's nice to have like these fancy sources. That's exactly what you need.
Will it actually show me in here? Do they? I don't know if they have the Oxford Dictionary online, actually.
Yeah, yeah. You ever dive into Black's dictionary, law dictionary, the actual dictionary that all the laws and things go by in the whole governmental system? It's crazy shit, man. The actual
I
etymology
haven't
they
dug
use.
into specifically that dictionary that I remember, but there's a lot of legal words and a lot of Latin crossover inside
Yep.
of law, and so there's a
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many spiral truths within whatever we read, depending where we are at. Yeah, I mean, like that. It, even more so when someone did it on purpose, but really like all the time when we
Yeah.
talk. So I don't remember what drines means at the moment, and I'm not finding it. But we have some correlations to words like drain, dryness. What is this? How could I even look this up? I found this like super easy the other time that when I looked for this before.
Oh, gravy, baby. You got time?
Oh, you know, I probably looked up the etymology of it, and that's why I found it really easy. Maybe.
Back engineered it. Yeah. Oh, there.
Why does it keep showing me drones, dude? Like, I don't want to search for drones.
Do you put them captions? Like being really specific, drains?
No,
I do
I'm
that
not.
sometimes.
I'm not being all crazy with the search strings. That's for sure.
He's gonna need drones.
Where is this? There's the New Universal Etymological English Dictionary that had it in there somewhere, but when I clicked on the link, it takes me to like this PDF of part of the book, and I can't figure out where it is in there. It's like totally off. And now these are like P's. Oh my god, this book is enormous. I'm trying to find it in this book. Oh, that's the preface. Okay. We're getting somewhere. It'll be in this book. We'll find it. Thank you for taking this break. If you're still here with us and you haven't already, please take this moment to like and subscribe to the channel and check out our social feeds down beneath here. Then ought to use it for something. Nope. It's actually going to skip the pages because this is a book preview. I really, like a person like me, okay, like check it out. I really ought to have one of these books like this, but like I don't. So I'm trying to help here. So this thing in the, where was it? Because there was like it did have part of it. Maybe this one. It says any drines or roughness of the skin. What is drines? So fucking Jesus Christ. Someone in the chat, help me. Oh, you know what? There's this other thing that, let's see if he says what. Okay, found it, finally. Drines is an obsolete spelling of dryness and occurs many times throughout this book that he's talking about, where in every case it can refer to the qualities of one of the four elements, just as it does in another Edward Kelly's thing. So it isn't, it's not only meaning dryness, but it's a purposeful allusion to dryness as a property of one of the four prime elements. So this guy's breakdown, because it is pretty good, we'll just read this one for this line. He says, part here can mean a grammatical part of speech, a unit of time, a section of a book, an act of or role in a play. In fact, anything which can be divided. But the previous line implies that we're at least looking at something that an author would subdivide, or that is, of his author's part as a writer. While only Kelly speaks to an author, the language of grammar nonetheless pervades the theatrum, which is where this comes from, just as it pervades Dee's hieroglyphic monad, a book that John Dee wrote, and many intervening alchemical texts. For instance, in Thomas Norton's Ordinal of Alchemy, whose word choice often seems echoed by Kelly, Norton exhorts his reader to conjoin your elements with all their concords conveniently, join them also in rhetorical guise with nature's ornate and purified wise. So what was he saying there? Fucking. Oh, I guess he's just saying that he's using the same words that Edward Kelly was there. I will also include a link to this. This is also from that same page. After we're maybe like, I mean, if you want to look through this is some other guy's whole breakdown on like line by line of the entire thing right there. He does not break it down having it in a different order, as you can see from that specific line where he says it specifically, it alludes to this author's thing because that was the line before, and it would not be the line before now if that
it's in a different order.
It would still be the line before. Right?
Oh, so it still fits? Yeah, but
because layer, 2 becomes 3 and 3 becomes 2. Right? So 4, 5, 6 end up staying in the same place in the way that I was reading it before, where you basically just make it be doublets of rhymes, right? So it's appear, year, sower, lower, you know what I mean? So in this next line, no flood so great as that which floweth still. So just on the straight and narrow, you have a kind of a good statement there that, you know, any flood that you could talk about can't possibly be worse than the flood that's going right now, right? Like the flood that's going right now is more important than the other one, right? And nothing more fixed than earth digested thrice. So this is obviously many times like alchemical illusion, but when so digesting earth, you're getting impurities out of it. Oftentimes this was to find metals, and metals, if we go down to like their atomic structure, are very much so like solid in their atomic structure and very fixed in what they are. And so the idea of digesting earth 3 times would leave you with only the pure things that are inside of the earth, which would be like fixed things like metal. So nothing is more fixed, nothing is more, you know, solid basically than earth that was digested thrice. And we also have then, interestingly, in a certain way, a second allusion to earth. And a lot of times, I mean, okay, alchemical poetry, if there's things that are going to be alluded to more times than one, oftentimes it's elements. But it's interesting with a person who clearly has this verbose of a vocabulary and so much that he could say, that he's chosen to use the same word twice, and he has chosen to capitalize it both times, even though it's mid-sentence both times. It's also extremely interesting to note that this second stanza the first 5 lines that start with no, 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 right? Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty weird. So another weird way of doing things. No wind so fresh as when it serveth will, and I mean, like, no wind is as good as the one that resides at your back and actually pushes you to accomplish the things that you're trying to accomplish. You know, so like the wind in the sails that's pushing your ship to the location that you're trying to travel to is the freshest type. You know, and no profit more than keep in and be wise. Directly, this is obviously alluding to that there's nothing more valuable, no profit more, than things that you gain inside, and be wise being that internal knowledge. So in another way, he's saying right here, there's nothing more valuable than knowledge of self. Just saying it in a way that is no profit more than keep in and be wise.
Totally. Yeah, beautiful.
No better hap, and when they say hap like this is they're staying in meter, but hap said like this means like happening. So there's no better happening than dry up air to dust. So this is interesting though, because if you spend the time to think about like that, like how drying up air, like, and then it becomes dust, like, okay, so it's leaving particulate inside of it, and there's no better happening than when the air completely dries up and leaves left over whatever is the dust that's remaining. In this case, based off the next line, he's basically saying there's no better happening than when you die and your legacy comes to substantiation. Your legacy isn't substantiated until you've gone away entirely, because the next line says, "For then thou mayest leave of and sleep thy lust," right? And what you've always been lusting for, functionally, and I think I'm gonna call it after this, but we can dig into this next time on expanded understanding, because it's been 4.5 hours. But then, for then thou mayest leave of and sleep thy lust. What a wonderful bit of words to leave on this late at night. But what he's saying there is very much so that once you've dried up air and it's become dust, or your legacy has been left here, you've made your mark on the world, then you can finally leave of and sleep. But in that sleep, you're finding your lust, and the alchemist's lust was always apotheosis, to basically become God. And so once you have died and your legacy has been left, you are then left, and you may go to leave of and sleep eternally inside of your apotheosis. I hope you all sleep very well tonight. We love you here at Expanded Understanding, the ISN Conscious Community. Thank you for being a part of our tribe. Big love to all of you. When I go to sleep after this, I'm going to meditate and specifically send wonderful energy to all of you. If you would like to set yourself to receive, that will enhance the amount that you receive. I'm going to be sending a lot. I love all of you, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
Good night, everyone.